All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of the IDP Plus podcast. I am one of your hosts, Steve Thomason at Dynasty Santa, joined as always by my handsome co-host Matt Record at mrecord21 on the good old X Twitter. Matt, we are covering week 2. We've made it to week 2. How's things going?
Things are good. I feel like we went back to some sense of normalcy. I don't know. As per our betting document, which you can follow
Oh,
along on Twitter, we were way more in line with what actually happened this week. So I feel like we've learned some things after week 1. I think we
yeah.
started actually gleaning some real fantasy takes that are going to matter and propel us forward through this year because we actually have more than just one game of data.
Right, exactly. And I mean, a lot of what we're talking about here can definitely give you good information about, making smart bets and, not only game totals, but, these IDP prop bets that we see people cranking out over there on Twitter. So, yeah, good stuff. I think there's some stuff that came back to the norm. There's some stuff that's still a little wacky, and we're gonna dive right into it all, starting with the Thursday night game. My Philadelphia Eagles took care of business, although it was a little closer than I would have liked. Vikings came roaring back there a little bit at the end, but yeah. So for the Vikings, the top IDP scores, we had Danielle Hunter, doing his thing, big business, 3 sacks carried him. Harrison Phillips, the defensive tackle, with a very nice tackling game with all the Eagles rushing that was going on. Cameron Bynum, we're going to talk about him in more detail. The safety came away with 22 points. Jordan Hicks, those 94% of snaps, you know, had him regress back to his mean with 20 points after a very bad week 1. And then, kind of the IDP waiver wire darling so far this year, Ivan Pace is makes the top 5 there. Yeah, I think let's start with Pace. How are you thinking? How are you liking his prospects for the rest of the year? Ivan
Uh,
Pace.
Absolutely loving it. I mean, he was in the 60% for terms of snap share last week. This week, all the way up to 79%. And look what he did with it,
That's what
right?
we want to
Like you
see.
love, especially the linebackers. Because we're probably talking, especially one that gets, right now in the mid 70s percentage. We're looking for him to be like an LB3, nothing really
Right.
more than that. And I love the baseline of tackles, 8 combined tackles right there. And then, ooh, little half a sack as well, so he has that splash play ability as well. So he's going way up. I mean, if he's not been taken off your waiver wire yet, he absolutely should be, because again, that number is only going to go up.
Absolutely, he should very much be owned in all leagues. He actually played, let's see, the most box snaps there. Um, so yeah, he's doing very very well. Definitely, that's what we want to see. We want to see those snaps start ticking up. That's what happened, and with that came more production. Jordan Hicks, you can kind of throw last week out the window, just bad luck. Cam Bynum, the safety, is someone we have to talk about. I think at this point I'd rather own Cameron Bynum than Harrison Smith. I mean, Harrison Smith coming in with only 10 points this game, despite playing 100% of the snaps. I think his age catching up to him. Would you agree with me on that? Would you rather have Harrison Smith right now over or have Cam Bynum over Harrison
Yeah,
Smith?
potentially. To me, this is a defensive backfield that I don't really want a whole lot of say in, if I can at least if I can afford it.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I like the upside and the youth of Cameron Bynum, right? Who over the Harrison Smith stuff, but like I still have a soft spot in my heart for Harrison Smith. He's just a
Mhm.
consummate professional. You see that 100% of the defensive snaps they're playing, so he will regress back to the mean. So I guess if your glass half full, 6 combined tackles, 10 points on a very off day, that's still pretty good. But yeah, we're not seeing as many of those splash plays as we used to see uh,
Mhm.
from one Harrison Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to find digging into the deep data here. I want to see. Okay, yeah. Um so Harrison Smith's still taking more snaps in the box, which is interesting. Uh Cameron Bynum's playing more snaps at free safety, but not by a whole lot, and also more snaps in the slot. So Cameron Bynum's, I guess, just maybe being more productive right now. So yeah, not only do you have those two, but another guy that I really like that I'm kind of targeting, Josh Metellus, the safety, playing 73% snaps, kind of all over the place. He's another guy that in your deeper leagues I would I would absolutely want to be rostered. So he's another one that I wanted to call out from this game to keep your eye on. Watch list him. If you're in if your league starts at least 4 defensive backs, I would say he should be rostered, and I would be almost targeting him. Possibly try and make a trade if it's a deep dynasty league, maybe throw a 4th rounder to someone, because I think his snaps are only going to go up in production as well. So, is there anybody else you want to talk about from the Vikings?
The only thing is, we said it last week, but the trend, Brian Asamoah was dead. He's
Yes.
dead. Only down to 18% of the defensive snaps played. Still ended up with the tackle and assist, so that's great for him, I suppose. But he's irrelevant. Ivan Pace has sort of closed that door until
Yeah.
someone gets hurt. So if you were stashing him for whatever reason, or you just, hold on to people in principle after week 1, no, don't try to overreact to the first week. No, he's gone. It's over for him unless an injury happens, which we never root for. So just drop him and go find someone else.
This is very firmly Ivan Pace's job. It's crazy to think that a guy like Asamoah went in the 3rd and Ivan Pace went undrafted. Seems like that should have been completely flip flop there.
Sometimes
So.
that how it be.
All right, we'll flip over to the Eagles here. Not a lot of IDP points, despite the high scoring game. We had Darius Slay, Justin Evans, Zach Cunningham, Terrell Edmonds, and Josh Sweat all in the top 5 or 6 players there, but none of them greater than 16 points. So all had 14. Darius Slay had 16. Had not another interception, but good tackle for defended a pass. So yeah, very kind of interesting. We saw pregame, we saw Nicholas Morrow getting called out wearing the green dot. He did play 95% of the snaps, but only came away with 3 tackles, one of them on special teams, and a fumble recovery on special teams. Did rush the quarterback and get a QBS. So not the kind of production. It was actually Zach Cunningham playing 91% of snaps. Had a decent enough production, but nothing exactly to write home about. We saw Terrell Edmonds finally earn his paycheck at 91% of the snaps. And Josh Sweat, of course, did his thing, albeit only with 1 tackle, hit the QB 5 times. And that should lead to a double-digit scoring game from Josh Sweat. So if your scoring settings aren't making it so Josh Sweat was at least in double digits, we had him at 14 in the IDP invitational scoring, then talk to your commission and get those settings straightened out. So yeah, is there anybody you want to call out in this game?
Yeah, I think the main person I want to call out, you're not seeing on your screen on YouTube, but if you're watching us on YouTube, like,
Yeah.
subscribe, comment, all that jazz. You know the deal by now. It's Hassan Reddick, who,
Yes, thank you.
we spoke so highly of him in the offseason, as you should. A couple of straight years of,
Mhm.
just dominant sack production. And this is the second week now where I think he's only stats he's acquired in the last 2 weeks is an assisted tackle. I think that's it,
Correct. That is
which
correct.
is bananas because we were drafting him sort of as like the 8th, DL guy or around there,
Yeah.
definitely a top 10 talent. He only played 67% of snaps in this game, which to me is a lower than I would expect for someone as high a pedigree. I don't
Mhm.
know, Steve, you being the resident Eagles fan, make this make sense. What do we do with Hassan Reddick at this point?
So the only thing I'll say is last year he started off pretty slow as well. I'm trying to see how many actual tackles. Yeah, I know he had no sacks through 2 games last year, and people were kind of freaking out. So sack wise, he's pretty much right there. Oh, okay, he had 3 tackles through 2 games last year. So we're down 2. He's got 1 assisted. He had 3 solo tackles, no assist. He's got 1 assist, no solos, and no sacks, just like last year. So that if I'm trying to stay positive vibes here, then looking at last year, a similar slow start out of the gate. We know he was also battling a little bit of an injury leading up to this year as well. So might just be slow out of the gate. You can't drop him, but I think you can bench him until he gives us something, or until the matchup is just ridiculous that you can't pass it, which I thought this Minnesota matchup was. They had lost some people on the offensive line. So I thought Reddick would be just a monster this game, and it just didn't happen. So I think he is just, giving us a little bit of a delayed start, similar to last year. Don't cut him, keep him on your bench. but hang on until he starts to get in his groove. Which maybe this year it's 3 or 4 games instead of only 2 because of battling that injury. But yeah, snaps are still there. I just don't. I just don't know Um, why he isn't. He's in on the pass rush snaps, 30. He has only one pressure that game though, so that was not great. So on 30 pounds, you compare that to Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat had 8 pressures on 31 pass rush snaps, and even old Fletcher Cox had 4 pressures on 36 snaps. So yeah, the the production is not looking great, and I think you just got to hang on for right now. But he would definitely be out of my starting lineup. That's for sure.
Yeah, Eagles play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. So uh maybe then. All I know is once I bench him, he's gonna go off. So I'm probably
Right.
benching him this week, which means he's gonna go off next week. You heard it here first. Uh the only other things we were monitoring for in this game, obviously with N'Kobe Dean's injury, how this linebacker snap's gonna be split up. Zach
Right.
Cunningham saw an increase up to that 91%. You love to see it. Did perfectly fine with the 14 total
Yeah.
points, 8 combined tackles. That's exactly what we should probably expect for Zach Cunningham.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, that's if that's worthwhile with your scoring settings. Yeah,
Hmm.
go get him and plug him in there. Unless you're playing, the big three scoring, then maybe that's less enticing. But
Hmm.
he looks pretty good. And then obviously with Nicholas Morrow playing 95%, like that's clearly who they're going with at that linebacker room there. And then, yeah, just watching the game, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are freaking good. So I know we love talking about Jalen Carter as, the shiny toy. He fell from the first overall pick and they got him at 8 and it was a steal, all that
Yeah.
jazz. But he'll forget how good Jordan Davis was coming out of school as well. And he is starting to look pretty good. Now, I don't love the snaps, right? Like I like
Right.
the Eagles go with that rotation on the defensive line. But
Hmm.
if you are in a DT required league, and I know it's already way early to start talking about bye week fill-ins, but like we're
Right.
getting there. Like you might as well get some names in your brain.
Yeah.
One of those two can go off for a nice big week any
Yeah.
given week. So just keep that in mind there. And I love seeing Milton Williams get 40%. Like he shouldn't be starting in
Mhm.
anything other than some random league, but that's a good freaking defensive line. Better for real life football than necessarily projecting fantasy points.
Yeah, these are best ball guys. These are going to be guys that you're never going to guess right in redraft leagues. You maybe Jalen Carter's got the higher ceiling, Jordan Davis maybe the safer floor, and then who knows from there. So yeah, those guys are frustrating to own, but happy to have them on my team for real life football. Quickly, we talked about Rashaan Evans last week. I was very bullish on him. He asked for his release from the practice squad about a day after signing, so I think he's getting offers from other places. We saw Shaq Thompson just go down in the game tonight. So I still keeping my eye on wherever Rashaan Evans possibly lands. I thought if he had stuck here and been called up to the lineup, he would easily overtake the number one role while the Kobe Dean is out. It looks like the Eagles, granted him his own wish. So it's not that he didn't perform or was bad at practice. He asked to be released. Apparently, he might be getting offers from other places. So keep your eyes on Rashaan Evans still, depending on where he ends up. So. All right, we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens now. Ravens went into Cincinnati and took out a close game. The Marcus Williams replacement. We see Geno Stone up there as the number one IDP scorer. Then Jadeveon Clowney, the most overrated football player and IDP player of all time. Patrick Queen, Darius Washington, and Roquan barely squeaks in to the top 5 IDP scores. But I mean, Roquan, he still played 100% snaps, only gave us tackles, 3 solos to assist. That's why he had kind of a down week. There's nothing you can really say or take away from that, honestly. It just happens sometimes, right?
It happens. Like everyone has their off days. The question is, how bad of an off day was it? Like we'll get to some of these other positions where, yeah, your defensive end slash edge groups, their off days could straight up be 0. They can get all the snaps that they normally get and all that jazz, but due to whatever, they score nothing. So it's nice in
Mhm.
that linebacker spot that, obviously this is, some would say the guy, the number one guy.
Mhm.
You'd expect a little more than 8 total points with 5 combined tackles, but you know what? That happens. That did not kill you this week, and if it was, you have some weird settings. So yeah, I think the
Absolutely.
interesting things here for me, continue to be that defensive backfield. Like Kyle Hamilton,
it's a mess.
yeah, it's a freaking mess. Like we all kind of assumed he was going to ascend into that spot. Like had very high PFF grades. The competition went away for him there,
Mhm.
so, and like he's getting 100% of the snaps, which we can see.
Yeah,
Maybe while I'm talking, you can look up the more advanced stats on where he's actually lining up in the field. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, 7 points with 4 combined tackles. That is just not cutting it. There's a bunch of other safeties, including Geno Stone on his own team, who have similar snaps who are actually producing. And you don't want to cut bait early. Like we don't want to say the big B word for someone
Mhm.
like Kyle Hamilton just yet, because the season's long, right? And it's very
Right.
matchup dependent, or can be. But we want people that aren't matchup dependent to be
Yeah,
playing well. And Hamilton just hasn't done that yet. I'm trying to see who they're playing next week. They're playing the Colts, which
uh,
might be a good spot for him to get a splash play or two. But yeah, he's one where I'm maybe looking to bench him too, based on who else is out there.
so making this I'm not a tape guy. It would be nice if I had a tape guy backer to this theory. But so he's playing, let's see, this week he had 4 snaps on the defensive line, 15 in the box, 28 at free safety, 13 in the slot. He's playing everywhere we normally want our strong safeties to play, or our safeties who are giving us high tackle floors with the possibilities of big splash plays. My theory that just popped into my head right now is that because guys like Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, who are really good. Yes, Patrick Queen is good. Very high PFF grade this week. Obviously, we know Roquan Smith is very good. If he's playing next to these guys, which by what I just said, he kind of is. Um, I don't think he's got as much opportunity
Fewer
for
fewer
the
tackles. Yeah, fewer
yeah,
tackles can
for
be
the
for him.
tackle
Yeah.
floor. So now he's splash player bust, and he's also not necessarily who's getting all the splash plays. Previously, Marcus Williams, even going back to last year before he got injured, gets injured again. Who steps in? Stinky Geno Stone steps in and gives us 27.6 points with a splash play of a pick, a pass defended, and somehow is gobbling up all the tackles that got past the second line of defense. So in a weird way, Geno Stone, even though he's playing 40 of his 60 snaps as free safety, 12 in the slot, 7 in the box, 1 on the defensive line, he is somehow, I think, now in a better position to give us IDP points than is Kyle Hamilton playing next to these studs at the same level of the defense as these guys. Not to mention the cover guys. Hamilton, I don't think graded out overall, he had a very bad grade this week in coverage. Coverage was his highest mark of the week out of everything else. So not only is he playing as the same level as these stud tacklers and stud linebackers, but at the coverage level, he's not being targeted very often. He was only targeted 3 times this game. Now, his player caught all 3 passes on him. I don't have the tape knowledge behind that to see if it was something he could help or not. So there's 3 tackles built in, but outside of that, he had 1 tackle outside of his 3 targets. So yeah, not great. It's not looking good for Kyle Hamilton. In Dynasty, you're obviously holding, but man, in redraft, I'm looking for other options right now. I might be a cutting Kyle Hamilton in redraft.
He's
So
definitely
I don't
getting
know if
there. But
that's
we often talk about how defensive backs are hard to predict. Like there's the biggest turnover in
yeah.
the top 10 there from
Mhm.
all positions, because that's all about scheme and being in the right place, right time, and health and
Mhm.
all that jazz, right? And I think there's definitely some validity to what you're saying with those linebackers there taking up all those sacks or all those tackles. So uh, yeah, I think that's really all I want to touch on with the Ravens.
I
I
just
like.
want to throw one more guy out there. I like David Ojabo working his way up to 70% of snaps.
Hmm.
He's right up Jadeveon Clowney's heels. I hate Jadeveon Clowney. Got a lucky game with a sack, whatever. Don't. I would much rather. Let's just put it this way. I much rather want David Ojabo in all formats over a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. So I'll just end my spiel on that. All right. Now we flip over to the Bengals. We had Daxton Hills, the top scorer, 22 points. Logan Wilson comes back, gives us 18 points. Jermaine Pratt right behind him, though, 16. Mike Hilton as a corner at 13.5, and Nick Scott doing his thing at safety. So getting a guy at pretty much all levels. Jermaine Pratt's listed as a DE there. I don't know why. He's a linebacker, but getting guys pretty much at all levels of the defense there. The defensive line did not do great. Hubbard did decent with his tackle floor. Hendrickson, of course, is a sacker bus guy to begin with. Still playing a bunch of snaps, 71%, but not a guy that I had been super interested in pretty much any format this year. I was have been a pretty big fader of Trey Hendrickson this year. So nothing too crazy sticking out to me there. How about you?
No, I mean, I love seeing the second-year player Dax Hill get 99% of the snaps. Like you love to see that. That's one
Crushing
of
it.
those, yeah, those dynasty stashes. Like he just needs an opportunity, and he's finally getting it. And it was nice seeing him take advantage of that. With players like that, though, I always want to heed caution. Like it's his first big
Sure.
break. Now we can expect that from every week. No, we can't. Obviously, we love the snap percentage, and he should definitely be rostered. Like if he's available in deeper leagues, like go get him. Like it's hard to find, defensive backs necessarily that aren't corners usually that get that much snap percentage. So go get them, but maybe temper expectations. Who do the Bengals play next week? They are playing the Rams. Actually, that might be a good spot for him to repeat doing some
Yeah.
pretty nice things. So forget that. He's started him as your DB3. Awesome. With DB2
Yeah.
upside.
Two very strong weeks in a row.
Yeah. So then otherwise, like I think we know which players we should be targeting on this defense, right? And you can kind of see it with those the play percentage. Like Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, they've proven time and time again both are fantasy relevant. Obviously, people expect more from Logan Wilson. Like they expect this all the time, which that's not who he is, but he's going to be just fine. He's not going to lose you any weeks really. And
Exactly.
then yeah, really otherwise, cornerbacks are very much matchup dependent, right? And then like you said, that defensive line, they don't get the production that you necessarily want to consistently trust them any week, especially in the tackle floor side of things. And this
Mm-hmm.
is exactly a game that illustrates that, right? Like plenty of plenty of opportunities to score, and they just didn't. So, or didn't perform very well. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
think we know who.
Ravens were a little slippery with their run game, not kind of this kind of evolved into a shootout. So not and of course Lamar Jackson we know is slippery. So yeah, just probably not as many opportunities to stuff guys up the middle. And the Ravens are a very good running team, so their backs often break through to the second level. I think we're on to something here when it comes to the safety. So you know how in the normal IDP mantras you want the strong safety, the guy playing in the box all the time.
Mhm.
Not when they're paired with two good to above average linebackers, because Dax Hill took the most snaps at free safety yet again. And so this is two examples now in the same game where we've got Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and the strong safety comes away. Nick Scott had a better game than Kyle Hamilton, but it was Dax Hill and Geno Stone, the free safeties, who dominated the IDP scoring in this game. So I think that's something we're gonna have to, as we go through the rest of the games here, we're gonna have to see if you have good to average linebackers in front of you. Seems like the free safety is trending as being the one you want for IDP purposes, and I think it's going to go that if you have crappy linebackers in front of you, you're going to want that traditional strong safety. So
Hmm.
we'll have to keep our eyes on how that progresses here. So
Let's noodle that.
yeah. So okay, we're gonna go move on to Chicago. There was this game was kind of crazy on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. There's definitely opportunities, but we had some injuries in this game. Unfortunately, we had both Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson
Mm-hmm.
leave and go down. You see, Eddie Jackson came away with 0 points and only 24% of snaps. Jaquan Brisker only 58. We're very accustomed to him playing closer to 100% of snaps. So we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. I mean, Chicago just keeps getting decimated in their secondary. The Kyler Gordon on IR. We saw Tyreek Stevenson. He's going to be a guy. If either of the safeties miss time, Tyreek Stevenson is the only healthy corner out there, playing 100% of snaps. He might be worth a kind of a Hail Mary pickup in some of your deeper leagues. But we saw my guy Tremaine Edmonds atop the charts here. Then T.J. Edwards, Greg Stroman, cornerback. He must be the other warm body in the secondary. Although his production only came on 46% of snaps. So that's Yeah, that's probably not going to continue. Tyree Stevenson right under him with 13 points at 100%. Jalen Johnson, the other cornerback, at 100% snaps, 11 and a half points. So, of course, yeah, I don't see a whole lot else to call out here outside those injuries. Yannick Ngakoue played the snaps we wanted to see, but we kind of knew Tampa Bay's offensive line a lot better than Green Bay's last week. So, yeah, this is kind of a mess if Brisker misses time.
It's an absolute mess. Who takes it over? Like I wrote about this in the rundown
Yeah,
article. This was one of the games I covered, and I think I like Elijah Hicks more
yeah.
than necessarily um, where's it? Oh, Quindell
Quindell,
Johnston.
yeah,
Like, but I don't love it. Like, right? It's one of those ones
it's
where it's
all
like
gross.
yes, in theory or not in theory, there if either of them miss time, there are going to be snaps at play, which will yield points. But before knowing
Yeah,
who it's going to be, like I can find someone else with a more known role, right? If you are
yeah,
that desperate to fill in someone like a Jaquan Brisker, which hopefully it's not that serious, right? But I think you nailed everything. Like we knew these linebackers were going to crush in these first 2 weeks.
mhm,
They have crushed. It's interesting to me that Edmonds is the one that's 100% of the snaps versus Edwards being 87. But I always say above 80 is pretty good. To what you're
sure.
looking for. So like the fact that Edwards played 87%, like I'm not
Mhm,
shying away from playing him at all. And as you can see, that 12 combined tackles is pretty dang nice. And then, yeah, the only other thing I noted too with like Ngakoue, 73% is pretty good for defensive end. Like
yeah,
obviously, like I sort of foreshadowed earlier, you can't expect production necessarily from edge defenders, like the
mhm,
elite edge ones. Kind of like Jalen Phillips last week gets the
mhm,
sacks and the tackles, but not a whole lot of them actually get both those things. So when you're rolling out your DE2s or DE3s, like sometimes you have to stomach games like this and just know there might be brighter or there should be brighter days ahead. Granted,
mhm,
I will say all of that with the tempered expectation that the Bears' disappointing season so far is only going to get more disappointing next week when the Bears go and play the Chiefs away in Kansas City. That's a slippery
yeah,
quarterback there, and Pat Mahomes, obviously. So I'm kind of fading. Oh God! And if the Bears don't have the defensive backs either,
right.
oh man,
It's
I
not
don't.
good.
Like I think there's some sneaky good cornerbacks to
Yeah.
stream here, right? But I wouldn't trust much of anything else.
Yeah, you're right about Hicks. He played 45 of his snaps at free safety. I think this gives more of our theory credence here. So the free safety scored better with two really good linebackers in front of him.
Mhm.
Yes, it was, I believe, Quindell took more snaps in the uh, box and slot and some free safety, but he didn't play nearly as much either. Um, yeah, and Greg Stroman, you know, the reason he did so well on limited snaps, 31 snaps in the slot, overwhelming majority of his 33 snaps were as slot. So he was probably getting targeted, picked on when he was in the game when the Bucs had three receivers out there. So again, not production you totally want to count on, and is very very matchup dependent. So all right, I don't know. Yeah, let's pray that Brisker doesn't miss time.
Yes, sir.
Let's hope Eddie Jackson gets back, but the talent drop off between Eddie Jackson and whoever ends up replacing him is going to be so great that you're probably not going to want to pay much attention to them unless they just get really lucky here the next week.
100%.
All right, moving to the Tampa Bay Bucs. This was an interesting one. We had terrible games from Devin White and Levante David due to, I mean, the entire team only played. Um, you can see the 100% snaps where it's only 53. So that is the inept Bears offense going three and out, not completing passes, not being able to establish the run because although it being a tight game most of the way, they just weren't ever able to establish anything. So we had Shaq Barrett, who lived off of a interception touchdown return at the very end of the game. Joe Tryon finally had a nice little game for himself, the first round talent. So unfortunately, he just gave us enough that you kind of can't quite give up on him just yet. Jamal Dean as the corner, strong tackle game, and we give bonuses to corners here in the invitational scoring. Right below him, Christian Izien. I think he's more of a corner. Actually, I have to check.
Yeah,
But
he is.
he had an interception.
Rookie corner. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know why he's a safety here. And Vita Vea had a nice game, 1.5 sacks for the interior lineman. Ryan Neal gave us a solid tackle for with tackle for loss. Antoine Winfield, kind of a disappointing game. Seems like all the good players who played 100% snaps for the Bucs gave us nothing from an IDP standpoint. And similar to a Roquan, sometimes these things just happen. So, what do you got for the Bucs?
Yeah, obviously you still trust Devin White. You still trust Levante
Yeah.
David. They just had a bad game, but the snaps are still there. You gotta
Mhm.
trust in that. That's not gonna go away
Yeah.
necessarily. Same thing with Antoine Winfield. Yeah. I think the main things I noted, I do like Christian Izine. He's a rookie.
Yes.
I like that snap percentage that quick for a rookie there.
Mhm.
He's definitely one that I am interested in when it comes to streaming. The Eagles play the Buccaneers next week on Monday night. Your
Ooh.
Eagles. So I actually do like that spot for the defensive backs here. We know the Eagles like to throw quite a bit, right? And they will
Yeah.
take advantage of, especially rookie defenders out there. So I do kind of like him long term. I wouldn't start him immediately, kind of like I said in the previous game with these young players with Dax Hill. You want to see them do it more consistently before you throw him out there, but he's
Yeah.
quickly on my oh, he's a sneaky nice ad in deeper formats there. Yeah, really just the people that performed really, really well here didn't get the percentage of snaps that you'd expect them to do that well again, like the Barrett and the Tryons of the world. And the players that
Mhm.
did get all the snaps, they didn't play well. Sometimes that happens. It's week 2. I'm not going to be dropping Devin White for Joe Tryon anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. Izine is essentially their nickel or their nickel or their slot corner. So that's why he's normally in a position to come away with good stats, but also kind of risky. Carlton Davis also missed this game, so may have gotten some more play due to that. So don't go crazy in deeper leagues. Sure, he's probably worth a Hail Mary ad, but only if you start at least 4, and probably it would need to be a dynasty league for me to want to take a shot on him. But yeah, early production. The only guy that was disappointed, Anthony Nelson, 45% of snaps, gave us a 0 burger. Someone I was grabbing a couple best ball shares of I believe he had a sack last week. So, but he's exactly one of these guys. Playing about half the snaps, he's going to give you, he's basically sack or bust, right? So he's going to give you decent games and 0 burgers, and you're never going to be able to predict when. So, just another guy that I kind of personally like, but bad game for him. Bad game for a lot of the
A
stars
lot
in
of
this
people.
one. All right, our next game, the Packers at the Falcons. It is Quay Walker season. It's here. He passed concussion protocol, 17 total tackles, 8 solo, 9 assists, a QB hit, a pass defended. Number 1 for this game. Devontae Campbell right behind him, though, at only 83% of the snaps. This was very predictable, right? Against the Falcons, strong, run the ball. Of course, the linebackers are going to do well. Rasul Douglas got an interception, had a nice game, played 100% of snaps. Jair Alexander right behind him with 15 points, with a decent tackle for 5 solos and a pass defended. Darnell Savage still hanging in there with some good stats, 8 total tackles, 6 solos. Yeah, now how about anybody else beyond the top ones there that you're looking at?
No, I think the Packers are in a really good spot for us from an IDP perspective because we know who's going to be playing and we can more regularly predict,
Yes.
who's going to go off based off of who they're playing, right? So yeah, it's Quay
Mhm.
Walker season. We're just living in it. You can see
Yeah.
it in the snap percentage, right? Like 100%
Oh,
versus the 83 for Devondre Campbell. Like again, both people are very relevant, kind of like the Bears linebacker duo there in the NFC
mhm.
North. But Quay Walker is Quay Walker's time. He's doing all the things that we said we were going to do. We were very bullish on him, so you love seeing
Mhm.
it. But yeah,
Yes.
Devondre Campbell is that sneaky sort of. I don't want to even say post hype, but it's he's an older player. He's kind of like a Demario Davis there with the Saints. We're you just keep freaking
Hanging around, yeah.
hanging around and being great. Um, yeah, I really like the defensive back there snap percentages that we're seeing, like Rasul
Yeah.
Douglas, Jairi Alexander, Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, all 100%. Like they did not leave the field. That's your 2 safeties and your 2 cornerbacks out there. So going against pass heavy teams, we can expect to, see see some nice stuff out of them, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, the Falcons were they're such an interesting offensive team. They give you a little bit of everything. Uh, but yeah, I think those are really the only people you really need to trust. Like Rashawn
Yeah,
Gary, they're still easing him back, only
right.
27% of snaps. So like he's nowhere near being able
Yeah.
to be played. Lucas Finesse, again, we like our rookies, and the fact that he's out there is good, getting a tackle
Mhm.
for loss, but he's only playing 22%. Like he's not
Mhm.
worthy of really playing. Devontae Wyatt had a really nice week last week,
Mhm.
but from that DT, DE sort of spot, like again, especially those young players, you're not going to get that consistent uh,
Right.
week in, week out, easy start stuff. So I think we know which players we can trust here and which ones we can't,
Mhm.
which is very nice for us.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary, that is an uptick, although it's still very low, but you already saw the potential, right? Half a sack, um, and a QB hit on just 27% of snaps. So as it's going to be tough to keep him out as we see that, ticking up.
We just
Yeah,
gotta
maybe
wait for that
still
week. Wait
right.
for that
Wait
week
till
where
that
like he's back up to 60,
yeah,
65, 70, where it's like, okay, you're back.
I was gonna say 50 is kind of the magic number that I'm looking for to be
Sure.
comfortable giving him a shot on a matchup uh, basis. So if he's got a good matchup, the last guy I want to talk about was just quickly Keyshawn Nixon, their slot corner, who also gives us return yardage. Bad game against a bad passing offense. We're never going to see a lot of three wide receivers on the field. So predictably, he had a down game this week. So you got to follow our start sit recommendations though to get those recommendations. Which this content that you're seeing here, these charts, our start sit, all in written article form, available for subscribers to the website only. You'll be able to get a little taste every week, but these are paywall articles with all this great data information. If you want to go back and be able to reference it without having to pop our ugly faces up every week and pausing the video and jotting things down, just subscribe to us for a month. Give it a shot for a month. Use the code IDP plus sign podcast or pod IDP plus pod, 10% off. Like I said, just give us a shot for a month, see how you like it. Love to get your feedback. You'll be able to get access to our Discord, bump any specific league questions or start sit decisions right off of our staff. We've got dozens of people ready to help you manage your teams and manage your IDP teams. So again, these charts only available on the website for subscribers. So come along as we move on to the Atlanta Falcons. My guy, Caden Ellis with Troy Anderson out, had 6 solos with a sack. That's what we were looking for. We know that he's got that as part of his toolbox. Caden Ellis does. Had like 7.5 sacks last year on a, didn't even start until 3/4 of the way through the season. So we know this is in his arsenal. I love it. Love to see it. So got home on a sack, number 1 scorer for the Falcons. Other than that, we didn't get a whole lot from anyone else. This is
Mm-mm.
kind of a goofy game for IDP purposes. You see AJ Terrell and Trey Flowers. Now their scoring is inflated by our scoring for the Invitational a little bit. We did see the Troy Anderson replacement be Nate Landman. So that's a name, not one that I care too much about. We don't think Troy Anderson is going to be out very long. Also, on 98% of the snaps, gave us a whopping 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 tackle for a loss, solid 8
Woot.
points. Nothing really to write home about there. Richie Grant, Jesse Bates came back down to earth, and none of the pass rushers got home. So Caden Ellis was the source of the one and only sack in this game. So very down for IDP all over the place. So what do you got on the Falcons?
Yeah, sometimes you have those weeks, and this was
Mm-hmm.
one of them their weeks. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward though. The Falcons are playing the Lions next week, which should be a fun little game. We know the Lions are gonna have a heavy dose of passes, so I'm a little higher on the Jesse Bates, Richie Grant, come back, regress back to the positive mean there, kind of bumping up all of those defensive backs. Um, but yeah, it's the Caden Ellis show as long as Troy Anderson's out. Once Anderson is back, obviously we expect that Nate Landman uh, snap percentage to
0%
go
snaps.
way the heck down.
Or one. I
Uh,
think he played 1% last week or something
yeah,
like
like it's don't get fooled by that playtime here and be like, oh, he's going to be the guy. He's going to go right back to the bench once
Yeah,
Anderson is back. And even while Anderson's out, I think you can find some better linebackers, especially in the matchup against the Lions. Like with
yeah.
David Montgomery out, like we expect them to rely more on Gibbs, but Dan Campbell's proven that he's not going to do that. It's going to be freaking Craig Reynolds or whomever at running back, at running back there. So yeah, I think you still stay the course, people that you drafted high here. The only thing I would mention is I do like Grady Jarrett, 72% of defensive
Oh yeah,
snaps there at the defensive tackle spot. Yeah, little higher than David Onyemata, who I also like. Again, these are like defensive tackle streaming names that if you're desperate for a defensive tackle, these are people that will actually be out there and playing for you. So keep them in your brain.
very good. Okay, so this game, I want to just call out Jesse Bates, the free safety, who had bad linebacker or one bad linebacker and a good, decent linebacker, did not score very well. Now, neither did Richie Grant as the traditional strong safety, but I think some more proof going here
But also
for
look at
our
how
little
many
theory.
snaps they have. Like they only played 50
Right,
defensive snaps,
exactly.
which
That's a
is
great point.
crazy. Like
That's
the
nothing.
average number of snaps, like we were talking about this in the IDP guys
Mhm.
chat, staff chat, is usually like
Yeah.
65 snaps. So this is a solid, what, 20%
Yeah.
fewer. Uh that's
Yeah, I mean, look at the Packers 100% guys were 82 versus the 100% guys here 50. So,
Yeah,
right.
the Packers just weren't sustaining long drives, I suppose. So this is pretty
Exactly.
decent production for that few snaps. So just in terms of volume alone, because a lot of these tackles are volume stats, I guess we expect the Lions to be a little better offensively than the Packers are. So expect to see just some of those raw numbers go up just based on the fact that there'll be more snaps.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. All right, we flick over to the Colts. Colts versus the Texans. Zaire Franklin continues to do his thing. EJ Speed with a really nice game and only 54% of snaps. Shaq Leonard's time, as an IDP stud is, I think, very much over. I think we can say that with some certainty now when you've got EJ Speed outproducing you. Julian Blackman is the safety to own 100% of snaps, had a nice game, 17 points. Quiddy Pay, the breakout continues, and Kenny Moore is working his way back up to 100% of snaps. DeForest Buckner had a really good game. Samson Ibukam relied on the sack. 62% of snaps. So yeah, what do you got on Big Shaq and anyone else from Indy that you want to talk about?
It's really nice playing against a Texans team that's bad,
Yeah, yeah,
especially a bad offensive line. I mean, look at all of those freaking sacks, like 6 sacks. Like you could have played anyone, even people that played only 20% of the snaps, like freaking Taven Bryan. Who the heck are you? Congrats on getting that sack. That's awesome. Yeah, my main takeaways, I think, like you said, we kind of know which Colts players we want to be targeting. There were to my knowledge, no injuries that really would elevate anyone else. But yeah, Julian Blackman, I think, is one of the stars here. Zaire Franklin, yeah, is obviously the main guy too. But then sort of everyone else, and then DeForest Buckner and in DT required leagues, they all are performing like you wanted them
studs.
to where you drafted, and that's awesome. Shaquille Leonard still valuable, right? But like not nearly. I mean, 71%. That's below the 80% mark that I want to have any part of when it comes to linebackers, especially with 3 linebacker leagues. Um, you can find someone else that will be out there more, right? Like
Yeah,
that you just can. So yeah, I think that's really it with the Colts. There's those 3 or 4 guys I'm really targeting, and then maybe a cornerback, maybe a Kenny Moore when the matchup necessitates me streaming a cornerback. But no,
right.
I think that's really the takeaway.
Yeah, I think they had this game in control despite Anthony Richardson leaving with a concussion. So it feels like that's just your veteran, guy who's always banged up, probably dialing back the motor a little bit there, Shaq Leonard. So that I again, that might be a shitty thing to say without proof, but kind of feels like that's the case. When he's playing still more snaps than EJ Speed and only giving us 3 tackles and nothing else. Is EJ Speed worth a pickup? That is the big question. Do you drop Shaq Leonard and pick up EJ Speed? I don't think so, especially in shallower leagues. in deeper leagues, I definitely want EJ Speed almost as like a Shaq Leonard handcuff, and I think we talked about that last week already. Even just noticing the snaps, and Speed did not score this well last week, but here he's chipping in. Got home with the sack, so um, I think, yeah, God, I I think if you have Shaq Leonard in a shower league, you drop him for someone else, and you keep your eye on EJ Speed. And in deeper leagues, you definitely handcuff him. And in deeper leagues, even if you don't have Shaq Leonard, I'm picking up EJ Speed because it just feels like it's just a matter of time before Shaq either goes down or gets replaced due to play. So I don't know. What do you got anything on EJ Speed from a waiver standpoint?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like he's gonna get more and more percentage of snaps as he keeps producing like this. So if
Yeah,
you have the spot to get him now before he explodes, get in there before people go get him.
yeah.
Do it. Again, with the 54% snap percentage, like you got to be in a pretty deep league to warrant dropping someone. Like I wouldn't feel
Mhm,
confident, like in my family leagues, right, where I'm only starting one defensive end. I'm not gonna throw him out there, right? But in your deeper leagues, go get him.
mhm,
Yeah, we like him and we like, him and Pay. You like what you're seeing there in terms of the
mhm,
the production there. So the Colts are building something. Uh just they yeah, it's gonna take some time for them to actually get to be a good team. And they face the Ravens next week. So we know
Okay.
Lamar Jackson is a little I keep saying slippery, but he is. He doesn't
Yeah.
really go down. So maybe fade them, but that might
Mhm.
be the perfect opportunity to go get these guys for cheap.
Very nice. All right, the Texans side, another game where we didn't have much, and you can see why. The 100% snaps there was only 57. So that you just talked about, the league average being in that 60-ish, mid 60 range. We were, over 10, 15% below that. So Jay Stewart, the Jalen Petrie replacement, was a top scorer. Great. Thanks. We would have loved that to have been Petrie's stats. Derek Stingley comes in second. Javier Thomas. Denzel Perryman, despite playing 100% snaps, gave us 8 total tackles with nothing else, unfortunately. Like I said, the Colts just kept kind of scoring. So there was a lot of opportunities here. But the big takeaway, Henry 2020, 81% snaps versus Christian Harris down to 39. Christian Harris, 1 assisted tackle, and that's it. Henry 2020, 4 solos, 3 assists, nothing else. So that would have been nice if he gave us something else. But I mean, I'm working fast here. Hire quick, fire quick. Um, when a guy plummets and snaps like that, you can cut Christian Harris for Henry 202. So possibly that could have been game script, but I don't know why Perryman would have played 100% snaps though. So that doesn't really make sense actually. So yeah, Christian Harris, see ya. Enter Henry 2020.
Yeah, boy, that escalated quickly. Because I mean,
Yes.
this time last week it was, Perriman played 100% or close to, and Harris played 81%. It's like he's the guy. You can cut Henry 2020.
Yeah.
And now it's clearly opposite. Obviously, with the new regime there, they're the ones that drafted Henry
Yeah.
2020, right? So they
Yeah.
kind of like him a little more.
Yeah.
Presumably, what I'm seeing here, like at this point, for me personally, I'm not going to touch them
Yeah.
until we see it happen again, which, that's just me being, cautious. But like I'm not going to go in and throw Henry 2020 in any lineups. But yeah, it's not a good
No, not as
looking
a
sign
starter.
for Christian Harris, is it?
Yeah. No.
Next week the Texans are playing the Jaguars. Have a heavy dose of pretty much everything. Nice little blend there. So yeah, that's a really good spot. I mean, Derek Stingley, 95% of snaps. Love that. Love me
Mm-hmm.
some young cornerbacks. He seems to be coming back with a vengeance, especially against the Jaguars. He's a streaming opportunity just waiting to
Definitely.
happen. And then yeah, we love at least Perryman because we know he's going to be out there. But
Mm-hmm.
Will Anderson fell back down to earth. He's still getting the similar snap percentage, right? But
Yeah.
he didn't, get the splash play, which is
Right.
expected from young defensive ends, right?
It's
Other than
gonna
like the
be
elite of the
it's
elite.
gonna
So
be lumpy all year.
it's going to be a roller coaster, but if you drafted him, you're probably willing to take that ride, especially in Dynasty. So now kind of a gross game from an IDP
Mhm.
perspective here, but hopefully next week against the Jaguars we can right the ship.
Yeah, I it could maybe this is a we tried Christian Harris in game 1, we're trying Henry in game 2. And game 3, maybe we have to see who they actually ended up liking better. So maybe I'm a little off base in my quick judgment there, but it doesn't look good because Christian Harris again he's not scoring very well on his PFF grades either. But neither did 2-0. They were only off by about 5 points in grading. So
Mm.
maybe I jumped the gun a little bit there and
Well,
say drop,
this
but like what you said, like you're definitely not starting either right now. So I feel like this was we're going to give Harris a shot in game 1. We're going to give 2-0 a shot in game 2. And now game 3 is really going to be pivotal to see who
yeah.
actually plays in game 3 to see who has maybe won that competition there. So,
I mean, this is a bad Texans team, right?
yeah.
Like they're not good. They have to figure out what they have at these young players, what they have so that they can know who they're building around, right? So, yeah, we'll just have to see.
And that's who we want, right? Sometimes we want these guys as long as they're playing more than 57 defenders. That's the only other
Yeah.
quick takeaway. The other safety spot went to DeAndre Houston Carson, not Eric Murray. Eric Murray stinks. Only played 16% of snaps. Seems weird though because he seemed to be the replacement last week when Petrie went down. So I don't get what's going on there. It looks like MJ Stewart is the only one worth a damn if Petrie and Jimmy Ward continue to be out. So. We move to our next game, which is Chiefs and the Jaguars. So we had L'Jarius Sneed regain the IDP crown, and he was the number 1 for the Chiefs in IDP scoring this week. Then my guy, George Karlaftis, coming in second. Chris Jones ties him at third, came back with a vengeance. Each Karlaftis and Jones with 1.5 sacks apiece. So really nice games from both of them. Nick Bolton, 79% of snaps, gave us a decent game, 8 total tackles, but nothing else. Last year must have been a mirage. We are back in rotation hell with Chris Spagnuolo, the coordinator, and it's just not fair. Justin Reed comes in 5th. Right behind them, we got Drew Tranquil, Leo Chenal, who beat out. They both scored better than Willie Gay, despite playing less snaps than him. So that's kind of just random. And you don't want anyone besides Nick Bolton, and even Nick Bolton is getting a little scary right now. So, any other guys to take away for Kansas City?
I will say Nick Bolton got hurt in the middle of the game, and
Okay,
he did come back. I think he
okay,
only missed maybe a drive,
a
or just
series or
maybe he didn't
something.
miss
Okay,
anything. I don't know. I remember watching the game being like, "Oh, Nick Bolton's hurt. He's going off the field." And then
yikes.
then all of a sudden he came back. So not to say that
Okay,
there aren't any, maybe we're going back in time for the rotation, but I think
yeah,
that 79% might be a little bit
okay.
tainted by that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this again, the Michael Dana, I is the name I like
Back
here.
to earth.
Yeah, yeah, back to earth, 78% of snaps, but
Still
again,
half a sack though,
yeah, yeah, but
but
fell back to earth again, just of
yeah,
note. Like that's a thing to note there. Like you're still starting Bolton. It was nice seeing Chris Jones come back, limited
yeah.
snaps, but like performed right off the bat. George Karlaftis is finally living up to all that the hype he
This is
had coming out of
two
college.
strong weeks right in a
2 strong
row.
weeks and 81% of snaps. That's huge.
I
Like,
love
he's a
it.
guy you should go and get and play fairly confidently. And then, yeah, I mean, I still like where Trent McDuffie is lining up. Obviously, he did not live up to his godly week 1. That was so freaking incredible. Uh, but yeah, I already said who the Chiefs are playing the Bears next week, who we know very run heavy, don't pass a whole lot. So I think the defensive backs will also still have not a great day versus the linebackers and defensive line should feast on that Bears team. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't sweat the Bolden, don't sweat the Jones. They should do just fine against that Bears team.
Yeah, McDuffie still was playing 40 snaps in the slot, 14 at corner. Sneed almost all of his at just cornerback, so he just had a really nice game, being targeted 8 times. So yeah, it's not that Sneed is back in the box or the slot or anything like that. He's still playing very much at corner, so it looks like this might just be very random week to week. So. Not yeah, but my guy George Karlaftis, I've been pretty bullish on him, even coming out for dynasty league. So that's very nice to see him coming along and having a nice little breakout season here. So as we move on to the Jaguars, so we had Devin Lloyd playing 99% of snaps and coming in just a smidge above Foye Lucan in points. So only 1 point difference. We had 11 tackles for Lloyd and 10 for Foye. Trey Herndon as a corner coming in next with our corner friendly scoring. Rayshon Jenkins fourth after that. Darius Williams another corner after that. Andre Cisco and Tyson Campbell. So everything pretty normal here. Trayvon Walker came back down there. Josh Allen got hurt, I believe. So unfortunately, I played 57% of snaps and didn't really give us anything. So after a monster week one, and I was really excited for him. I mentioned last week, he's pretty much playing for a contract this year. So it really stinks to see him get injured this early. So hopefully it's nothing serious and he'll be back stronger than ever. But yeah, I was really excited to see him doing well heading into a contract year. And was pretty bullish after that week one, but of course, here we go back down to earth. So, yeah, what else you got on Jacksonville?
Yeah, the only player who you would probably even consider starting who didn't put up the numbers you'd want him to would be Trayvon Walker, which again,
Right.
that's at that defensive end edge rusher spot. Whereas yeah,
Mhm.
you're gonna have your games where you got a tackle for a loss, an assist, and a tackle and 4 points.
Mhm.
That's just who you're gonna get. You're not gonna get that TJ Watt, floor that's unheard of. Granted, we're
Mhm.
looking for that. So if you have other options than Trayvon Walker, you still like the 84% of snaps played. Like that's elite level usage there at a defensive end spot. Just you're gonna have that roller coaster of some points. That's just gonna happen. But really, everyone else performed exactly like you want them to. So really, no material change here with how we're rolling with the Jaguars defense.
The only name that you haven't seen in a very long time, Clavon Chason. I believe he probably took over mostly for Josh Allen. Happened to get home with a sack, but gave us, only that play basically. Counted for a tackle. I guess he also chipped in with an assisted tackle, but sack, QB hit, tackle for loss, decent points. Don't go picking him up. He's still terrible. So that's everything for Jacksonville. Um, to our next game, the Raiders and the Bills. So Raiders played a lot of. You're going to see this is a very Jekyll and Hyde game. The Raiders played a shit ton of defensive snaps. The Bills did not. This game was very much in hand for Buffalo very early. So you had a lot of opportunity for the Raiders players and not so much for Buffalo. So we had Robert Spillane get home with a sack with 13 total tackles. Very nice game. Divine Diablo pretty much mirrored him. Also got home with a sack, 10 total tackles. We had the rookie corner, Jacorian Bennett, chip in with a nice game again. 9 tackles, playing 91% of snaps. So in your corner leagues. And he actually bested Nate Hobbs in our scoring system, who, of course, is one of our favorite players, even in just defensive back leagues. I'm starting Nate Hobbs in one of mine where we only have to start one defensive back, and I'm starting Nate Hobbs. So that's how much I like him. Crosby does his thing with the tackle for it. Didn't get home for a sack, but hey, any defensive end that gives you 6 tackles on 91% of snaps can be on my team any day. Beyond that, I don't see a lot that stands out to me. Tyree Wilson doing a little score gave us a little more points, but not by much. So yeah, this is a very top heavy IDP defense. So what do you got for the Raiders?
Yeah, that's kind of what you want though, in terms of being able to predict
Yes,
how people are
the
going to go. Like
clear, yeah,
like Tyree Wilson again playing 49% of snaps as a
mhm,
rookie. That's really good. Like we really like that. You'd like to see him get home a little more. Uh,
right. We like
right.
some production to go along with
Yeah.
that
But
eventually.
again, that's nice. But when we
Yeah,
have to go all the way down there, or at least I do, because yeah, all of
yeah,
the people that you'd be starting on this Raider defense are performing the way you want them to, which is really nice. Like I really like
mhm,
seeing Trevin Morrig there getting 11 points. Like he's one of those guys that's
mhm,
always been out there for 100% of snaps since he joined the league. I think this is his third year, but because he was playing
mhm.
free safety, he just wouldn't get tackles. Like
Right.
he wouldn't get any points. So it's nice seeing him be a little productive there, but just buyer beware with him that he typically is not in a spot that will get a whole lot of points for you. So you can probably find better defensive backs than him. But otherwise, yeah, keep rolling out Nate Hobbs, Crosby, Divine Diablo, even Spillane to some amount with some confidence.
Yeah. I mean, if Blaine's playing 100%, on a team with seems like the defense in total isn't very good. So Spillane's going to be another guy, kind of a sleeper darling this year. I mean, both Spillane and Diablo were very reasonably priced all year long in pretty much any format. So they are already paying back very nice dividends. With the Trayvon Merrick, Marcus F splits, you might be surprised here. I think I'm trending. If this trend continues, I might want Merrick over Epps going forward. So Merrick played 45 snaps as free safety. Epps 44. And then if we go to the box, Merrick had 24 in the box to Epps' only 14. And you see
Okay.
that they played, Merrick played 100% of the snaps, Epps only 81. So if this trend keeps up, that we might see a flip. And I mean, they were only 1 point difference in IDP
Okay.
invitational scoring. So
That's good to know, though.
something to keep your eyes peeled. Maybe if you're an Epps guy, you might have to pivot. If Merrick keeps seeing more slots than Epps in the box, he had a very strong week one. They both did, but so yeah, Merrick, you're absolutely right. Previously, Merrick
Yeah.
was a straight up free safety, didn't give you a lot of stats, but now they're pretty much even right there, and he's on the field more and in the box more. He also got 8 snaps at slot versus Epson only 3. So very
Times
interesting.
do be changing. That's good
Exactly.
to know.
Yeah, things to
The
keep your eyes
Raiders
on.
are going up against the Pittsburgh Football Steelers
Mm.
next week, who don't look great offensively right now against the Browns. So
Oh
there
boy.
should be plenty of opportunities for this Raider team to get some splash plays.
Excellent. So yeah, we mentioned it before. Buffalo only played the 100% snap players was 40, and the only 100% player was Christian Benford, a cornerback who played
Well,
all
this game
40.
got out of hand
Yeah,
very quickly,
exactly.
so we take all of this with just the
Yeah.
most grains of salt that you can.
The top scorers, Terrell Bernard, all kept it up. He had an interception to go along with 6 total tackles. Milano also. So luckily, your stud linebackers in Buffalo bailed you out each with an interception because had they not, the tackles were just not there this week. Greg Rousseau, similarly, tackle for loss, pass defended, kind of was propped up there. Outside of that, there's really not much to talk about here. I don't think.
No, there's not much we can
Yeah,
learn from a game that
they
these
didn't play
players
much.
only played
Yeah,
34 snaps. Like, that's insane.
yeah. The only
Uh,
thing I guess to say is Terrell Bernard looks to be like the real deal. So I think you can, hopefully they're better games from an IDP standpoint going forward. But I think you can fire up Bernard as an LB3, definitely an LB4 for sure, with very, strong confidence.
Agreed.
All right, I will go. Next game is the Chargers and the Titans. So Eric Hendricks was out. If we want to talk replacement, it was Nick Neiman as the more traditional off-ball linebacker, playing 77% of snaps. However, it was the Kenneth Murray did have a bit of a breakout here, got a sack, 10 tackles. So probably Kenneth Murray's best IDP game that we've probably ever seen from him. Joey Bosa, I didn't realize he only played 29% of snaps. Came home with 2 sacks, though, so we'll take it. Derwin, of course, at the top there. Another rookie that I have been a little bullish on, Tuli T. I'm not going to try it tonight. Tuli T got home with a sack and played 77% of snaps in what was a very close game. So
Mhm.
this is really good news. Maybe I think this had a lot to do with Kendricks being out. They were probably just throwing guys, see who sticks. But yes, very encouraged. In your dynasty leagues, you love to see this. Any other formats right now, it's kind of a wait and see. We got to see what's going on with Kendricks, but this is very encouraging. 77% snaps in what was a very close game. And he got home with a sack. He was 7. I was very happy, and he always kind of profiled to me as a guy that could do this, and sort of a Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack hybrid, not nearly as talented, although he was a second round guy, but someone who can give you a decent tackle floor with this as being a pass rushing linebacker here. So really happy to see that. Mac chipped in with a 91% snap share. Didn't get home with a sack, unfortunately. But my guy Morgan Fox, I'm a big Morgan Fox guy. Last week he was a 0. This week I think this is less snaps that he played, but Morgan got home with a sack. So very happy for him. Again, another guy that is going to be a all or nothing every week. But hey, in a best ball league or in a DT required league, he's got the ceilings to get home and get a sack. So I like him. But yeah, Chargers
Yeah, Derwin James, God, keep
doing
playing
his
him
thing.
wherever you can get him. Bosa, surprisingly few snaps, like you said,
I
but
didn't get that.
but
Yeah.
but produce. So if you have him, you're probably throwing him out there. I'm surprised that Khalil Mack played 91% of
It's so
snaps.
weird that
That's
that
so
juxtaposition of the snaps and then
many
the sacks didn't
snaps
work out.
for him. But I mean, that's of note. Like if he can keep running that back, like
Mhm.
he went undrafted in a lot of places, a lot of leagues that I was in. Um, like he might be a sneaky ad there. A little disappointed in some of the cornerback percentages, as you've seen us kind of go through some of these other games. There are a lot of teams that have their cornerbacks or defensive backs out there 100% of the time. Like
Mhm.
obviously Asante Samuel did there, but I really like JC Jackson, some of those other
Mhm.
players there as like sneaky guys. Like, you're not paying sticker price at the number one. But a little
Right.
disappointed that they aren't really getting the play that would necessitate, you know, you going and getting them. Uh, but yeah, no, kind of like why I like week 2. We're getting some of that. Our visions
Mhm.
becoming less foggy as we're really starting to hone in and see who's worthwhile. So can we expect Kenneth Murray to score 22 points like this every week? Absolutely
No.
not. But as long as he's
Don't
getting
fall for it.
100% of defensive snaps, which I don't remember how severe that injury was uh, to Kendricks, but
Right. Yeah, I'm not
like,
sure.
hey, monitor that, and Murray's definitely someone that I'd be happy just throwing in there as an LB3 with some, obviously LB2, LB1 upside. Uh, so yeah, who do the Chargers play next week? I feel like I've been saying that for all these games, but they play the Vikings. Someone is going to not be
Who?
0-2 anymore. So the you kind of like the defensive backs there against that Vikings team that can't really get anything going on the run. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that should be an interesting matchup for fantasy purposes because both offenses should be able to sustain some drives. So you should get plenty more opportunities for those volume stats.
Definitely going to be some sacks in that game. So
Oh
let's hope
yeah,
it's Bosa, Mack, and more Tooley. From the Tennessee end, we had Trey Avery, someone I've never heard of, but 82% of snaps for the corner as the number one IDP scorer for Tennessee. Then we had Kevin Byard, Sean Murphy Bunting, another corner chipping in. Jeffrey Simmons got home with a sack and 88% of snaps. Aziz was our top linebacker for the Titans this week, 99% of snaps. Still 8 total tackles with nothing else. You like to see him getting some defended passes, maybe some tackles for loss, but nothing quite yet. Roger McCreary came, predictably did not give us another 0 while playing 99 to 100% of snaps. Danico Autry got home. Harold Landry got home for a sack. So we have some decent scores, but nothing too crazy. Trey Avery, why is he so high? I'm gonna have to dig in. Like I don't 14. Oh, just a really high tackle floor.
yeah.
82% of snaps. Again, with our bonus scoring, I think that's what gets him up there with the 7 solo tackles. That was a solid almost 17 and a half points right there. So that kind of makes sense. Also a tackle for loss and a pass defended. So maybe someone to keep an eye on, but Tennessee rotates all their corners out like it's crazy. McCreary is really the only one. I mean, Murphy Bunting playing 99% snaps. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you got for the Titans?
Yeah, and the Titans went up against a Chargers team that was without Austin Eckler. So you knew they were
Yeah,
going to be throwing a whole bunch this game, and that sort of
yeah,
is proven out in these scoring with all the defensive backs being the highest scoring ones.
yeah.
The Titans do go up against the Browns next
Okay.
week. The Browns team who just saw Nick Chubb carted off on Monday Night Football. Looks pretty
You're
bad.
joking.
I am not. It looks pretty bad.
No.
So who knows what that offense looks like? Yeah, I know. Not
Man, that
ideal.
sucks. I don't even have Chubb in hardly anywhere, and that sucks.
I feel like we've had a
Man.
lot of big players go down. I mean, with the Saquon Barkley
Yeah.
news too, where he's gonna be out 2 to 3 weeks as well. Like all of these running backs, are just going down.
Whew.
So not great, but we're here talking about the Titans. No, I think you nailed it. I think we know who you want there. Aziz Al-Shaair, Jeffrey Simmons, you're playing
Yeah.
him. Roger McCreary at the cornerback for cornerback required leagues. Yeah, I wouldn't go out and blow my money on Trey Avery, like to your point,
Yeah.
especially considering a lot of these teams the Chargers are going to play, they're not going to be throwing as much, as much as the Chargers did. So yeah.
Titans run defense is amazing. So teams are kind of forced to pass on them a lot. I know I fell for the Josh Kelly trap, and I should have known better because this Titans run defense is really, really good. And the pass defense is not all that great. The reason we have so many corners because they're giving up opportunities to make tackles and plays, and they're getting balls caught on them. They don't really have shut down corners. So it's a nice little recipe for IDP opportunities. You really just want these linebackers to start chipping in here. Would be nice. It's perfect reason you don't go and react to week one. And in some of the chats and discords wherein we had people asking, should I drop Shaair for Jack Gibbons because he scored more points? No, you don't do that because Jack Gibbons gave us 66% snaps. Aziz 99. The points will come with Aziz. Hold steady. This is exactly why you don't do
Mhm.
crazy things off of week one. So Jack Gibbons is a rosterable guy in really deep, maybe dynasty leagues, but in redraft, he's completely off my radar. He's fine. If Aziz goes down, yes, he'll be next man up. But until then, unless you're in a super deep dynasty league, I don't care about Jack Gibbons.
Exactly.
Sorry to be mean there, but yeah, people like to go a little crazy on these nailing these LB2s. When we get to the Cowboys, we'll have another perfect example of why
Oh yeah.
certain teams it just does not matter. Don't care about it. Micah McFadden, sorry, I don't care. Again, yes, it's super deep league. Yeah, if you want 8 points out of Jack Gibbons, great, good for you.
Yeah.
Next game, Seattle versus Detroit. Lots of IDP here. Trey Brown comes out of nowhere for 40 points, returning an interception, had a sack, forced a fumble, just all the big splash plays this guy nailed, which is really surprising considering this is a team full of Devin Witherspoon at corner, Tariq Woolen at corner, Kobe Bryant at corner. I don't know what happened. Tariq Woolen only 17% of snaps. Looks like Trey Brown kind of filled in that role and did masterfully with it. So I believe he was the number one scorer on the entire week, especially in our format with the bonuses. So
Reek
then Julian Love, yeah,
Wellen suffers chest injury, so he
yeah,
got
okay.
hurt.
He did. So it makes sense there. Damn, it would have been nice if he would have had those stats because nobody is rostering Trey Brown. Depending on how bad this chest injury is, will depend on whether you need to bother remembering this name or he will be a 1 week wonder. More likely a 1 week wonder. But Julian Love gave us a very solid game. Um, Bobby Wagner, 10 total tackles. Jordan Brooks, snaps climbing back up, 86%. 11 total tackles. We got to talk about Jordan Brooks. We were getting a little friendly rib in one of our comments, how he took an L. I'm pretty sure I said 0% chance he'll start the year. I mean, this is one that he tore his ACL week 17. Nobody has ever come back that fast from anything. So this is one of the more you got Adrian Peterson, DeMar Hamlin, and Jordan freaking Brooks. I mean, if you wanted to bet on a top 3 health comeback at the beginning of the year and not let him fall to you at a appropriate ADP, then go play the lottery. But we're not in the business of playing the lottery. That was a sound process. We didn't say don't take him ever, just not where he was going and letting him be someone else's problem. So we now have more information. Jordan Brooks is playing the snaps. Love to see it. Very happy for the guy. Jordan Brooks, some people got great value. Let's hope he stays healthy throughout the whole year. What else do you got for the Seahawks?
Yeah, you nailed it. You hate to see that injury to Requillen, but
Yeah.
yeah, we've proven out that the second cornerback spot in Seattle is worthwhile, right? So yeah, you like to
Mhm.
see Devin Witherspoon get all of them snaps, and I think this was his debut because he did not play last week.
It
Yeah,
was.
that 100% snap count is very
Love it.
nice. So yeah, roll him out there with confidence. Obviously, matchup dependent with the cornerback stuff, which the Seahawks are playing the Panthers, who maybe they won't throw as much, but still a solid start there, especially
Yeah.
against a rookie cornerback or quarterback who might make some errant throws.
Very true.
But yeah, again, the Seahawks team makes it so easy to know who you have to care about because they just give them
Mhm.
all the snaps. So like if you have Julian Love, your Bobby Wagner, your Witherspoon, your Brooks, your Quandre Diggs, Uchenna Nuoso, like
Mhm.
Draymond Jones in DT required leagues. I know he's often, at least on MFL, is qualified as a DT. But like that's who you
Mhm.
want. Like those are the players you want to play, and you feel fairly confident that they're going to get all the snaps they need to put up points. So, in this one, yeah, a lot of this yeah, Trey Brown coming out of nowhere. We obviously can't expect 40 points every week, but if he is the benefactor of Reek being out, there is some value there. Maybe next week against a rookie quarterback who's prone to making some errors, but no, you love that your stars are doing this stuff there on the Seahawks defense, and you got to keep rolling them out there.
Absolutely. I believe Julian Love, did he also have a touchdown? I think I'm seeing. So Trey Brown returned an intercept. Yeah, I think Julian Love also returned a fumble for a touchdown. So that's why his score was even
Points are way up there. Yeah, love to see it.
this week.
Yeah,
So yeah,
love
and
to see
he's still playing all over the field. So yeah, great takeaways there for Seattle. Yeah, let's hope Jamal Adams maybe doesn't continue to just stay healthy so we can keep getting these good games out of Julian Love. Okay, this one doesn't work in our free safety format. Quandre Diggs, he's got
it.
two amazing linebackers, but somehow Julian Love is still producing next to them. So, all right, it's not 100% proof theory, but I think we're still batting pretty good on it
Yeah, we're
overall.
doing okay.
All right, the Lions. We had Alex Anzalone steal a sack from Aiden Hutchinson.
Mhm.
One of our who you might remember, somebody on our staff needed the Aiden Hutchinson. It might have been Big Mike, Big Double
Oh yeah,
underscore, who needed the Aiden Hutchinson because yeah, he didn't. Hutchinson did not get the sack and only gave us 2 tackles. So could have had a better day for
ouch.
Hutchinson. So Anzalone steals the sack at the end of the game, top scorer. Although again, despite the snaps being way up there, the 100% of snaps was 72. So there should have been higher scores here across the board, I think. But yeah, unfortunately, Seattle was just kept scoring points, so there weren't many stops being had for Detroit. So we had Jerry Jacobs and Cam Sutton as numbers 2 and 3 scores on the week in our cornerback friendly scoring. Kirby Joseph, here's one of the you talked about him last week, playing the
Mhm.
snaps he was going to get there. This was a good game for Kirby Joseph, 7 total tackles. Chauncey Gardner Johnson comes in right behind him with the same score, was playing 97% of snaps. We just found out earlier today, torn pec. That could be
Oh
a season ending injury. So that stinks for Chauncey Gardner Johnson. And that just elevates Kirby Joseph now to being a potentially solid weekly safety 2/3 conversation. If he in fact he's going to miss some amount of time,
yeah,
possibly slash probably the year. So anything else for the Lions?
yeah. Him and Brian Branch, like that's a big
Oh yes, Branch, right?
opportunity for
Damn
them.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jack Campbell only 32% of snaps,
going
which
backwards, I think.
like we tried to warn you with
Yeah.
the slow start with them, which hopefully you heeded that advice. That's not, I mean, it's people like Derek Barnes out snapping him. Like that's not going to last the entire year, but these games matter in redraft leagues, right? Like you can't just go
Mhm.
down 0-4 and expect it to bounce back and make the playoffs. So, uh, yeah, he in redraft, Jack Campbell, not even close to being relevant. Yeah,
Mhm.
you obviously want Aiden Hutchinson to do better than this, but it was kind of the tail last year. He had big explosive games, then just has yet to figure out that tackle floor that you
I
necessarily
know.
want for your defensive end, rolling him out there. But uh, yeah, I mean, look at the number of players we're looking at on the screen. Like we only have 14 players here, and a
Exactly.
few of them don't have that many, percentages
Yeah.
next to their name. So
Very
the
top heavy.
It's very top heavy, which again is good for us. It's hard to find value here or really any waiver wire ads until there's an injury
Mhm.
like the CGJ injury there. But again, we expect it to be Branch and Joseph, and thankfully they were already on our radar even
Mhm.
before this game, before this injury. So I'm assuming they're already snapped up by someone in your league, maybe you.
Yeah.
But be interested to see if they change their scheme at all because they're a little thin at that defensive back spot.
Yeah, it seems like Branch is locked in as the slot guy, so unless they change that to restructure the defense, it's probably going to be Tracy Walker who re-enters the starting lineup. Um, but who knows? I'm just going based off what I see, and then Brian Branch overwhelmingly is playing all of his snaps in the slot for the most part. So unless they're going to change that, it could be Kirby Joseph and Tracy Walker working in that safety grouping. I told you in the written article not to give up on Cam Sutton, and here he is with a very solid tackle for game. I believe there's a defended pass in there too, if I'm not mistaken. No, just a very solid with corner inflated scoring. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch out. So Tracy Walker might be a name to add in deeper leagues, but until we actually see what the Lions are going to pivot to doing, I'm not going crazy, and but don't expect Brian Branch to just walk into a now safety role, strong safety role where he's been playing all in the slot right now. So
Right.
just be a little wary there. Um, all right, that takes us to our next game for the Giants. Giants against the Cardinals. Kind of a very interesting game. My guy Daniel Jones, I stuck with him. I said week one was a fluke. Week two was off to a very scary start as well, but Daniel Jones comes through a quarterback. Um, the counterpart, I have to touch on really quickly because I was very bullish. So the counterpart to Aiden Hutchinson from that draft was Kayvon Thibodeau. I've been very bullish on him. Have said I like him better than Aiden Hutchinson. Continues to let me down this week. 94% snaps, one freaking point, one QB hit. He's got to figure it out. This is we talk about these younger pass rushers take time to develop. I hope that's what's going on here. I really like his talent, but don't unfortunately, he's moving down the rankings going forward. So we had Jason Pinnock be the number one scorer, 13 total tackles, three of them for a loss. Very nice game for Pinnock. Xavier McKinney right behind him, Bobby Okereke, Dory Jackson, Deontay Banks, the rookie, and there's Micah McFadden, our LB2, with 10 whole home points. Isaiah Simmons still stinks. He shouldn't be rostered in Dynasty. You might do what the Cardinals do, trade him for a last round draft pick. He is garbage. Bust. I've not liked him since he came out. Um, yeah, he's definitely cuttable at this point. And that's all. Leonard Williams, unfortunate. 58% snaps, gave us a zero burger. Yeah, I thought this defensive line was going to feast, to be honest. No Aziz Ojolari, he was out for the week. And Dexter Lawrence was the only one who broached double-digit points and only played 71% of snaps. So kind of a disappointing game here outside the safeties, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, I still really like Dexter Lawrence as a DT2 with DT1 upside any given week, and that
Oh, sure.
71% snap share helps that. And the 10 points for a DT, you're not gonna be that mad about it. I love seeing the rookie cornerback Deontay Banks getting
Mm-hmm.
100% of defensive snaps like that.
Very nice.
That is a very valuable piece that you could add in. When you're streaming cornerbacks. But yeah, I mean, the safeties are the stars here. Okereke continues to be the linebacker you want if you want anyone, which I think you do here. Again, we had him as a top 10 guy. He's yet to really, really, really break out, but again, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be that mad about 14 points there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then the McFadden only getting 75%. We were asked, which linebacker would you want for your linebacker two here on the Giants? It's like, I guess McFadden if you're going to go anyone else, but I think there are other linebacker situations where you can potentially find someone that plays a little more than McFadden. So
Mhm.
yeah, the Giants, maybe their pass rush will figure it out. Like I remember watching this game with my fiance and just like maybe the Giants are just bad. Like maybe they're just bad. And then of course they came back against a just terrible Cardinals team who's playing. He's been pretty frisky, right?
Yeah.
But like I don't know what to make of this Giants team until they can actually beat a good team.
Yeah, Cardinals. We kind of saw this with the Eagles for a few years there, where they'd be hanging in games and then give it away at the end. That's Jonathan Gannon defense for you. So get used to that. Unfortunately, Cardinals fans. So um,
Speaking of the Cardinals,
we flick over down. We had Jalen Thompson with the
my
best
man.
IDP game. Kaiser White right behind him, another guy I've been very strong on. The rookie corner, Cottrell Clark, coming in with the third highest score. He's someone that in corner required leagues, absolutely, he's seen the majority of snaps. I believe he only didn't play 100 because I think he might have missed a player too. I think I was watching some of that game too, and saw him maybe come out banged up a little bit. So he's basically 100% snap player, and Cardinals are going to get thrown on a lot. So he's a nice rookie corner to have. Gardak the Barbarian, as our friends at the IDP show have coined him. Just the efficiency monster of the year. Only 46% of snaps, gets home with a sack again, 4 tackles, a QB hit, 2 tackles for loss. I told you not to pick him up last week. Go ahead and pick him up. Go ahead. He's better than Zaven Collins, apparently. He plays less snaps, but he's more efficient. I don't know what to think here with Dennis freaking Gardeck just tearing up IDP for the first 2 weeks. So, anyone else on the Cardinals you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we talk about how the Cardinals defense plays a lot because the offense does not do very well. And yeah, you see that, 68 snaps there. That's pretty good. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. I'm looking forward, right? So I'm looking to the Cardinals playing the Cowboys next week. Now that Cowboys team throws a whole lot. Some of you've heard that before. So I really like the defensive backs here. Buda Baker found his way to the IR today. So sort of our
Great.
takeaways from this game, namely like Kayvon Wallace, 100% of
Mhm.
snaps out of nowhere. Like that's insanely nice to grab, especially in a matchup that we foresee there being a lot of passes. So I've always
Yeah.
really liked Jalen Thompson there, the safety. I believe he got a pick six, which aided in that 24.5. Is that right? I might be wrong.
Um,
Maybe
did
just
he
sorry, no,
return a
just the
touchdown?
interception. Didn't there's no touchdown. Um,
Right.
so I really like him. I like Kayvon Wallace. Again, that rookie Catrell Clark. Really, really like him there, especially with that play percentage. But yeah, other than those few guys, I just don't see the playing time for anyone else to really land in your regular starting conversation. I know I wrote about this game too for a rundown article, and the Chris Barnes getting 82% of defensive snaps threw me a bit,
Yeah.
like the former Packer, like 82%
Uh,
really for him. But I mean, I guess man of my word, like once you hit the 80% mark, like you're in the conversation now. So I'll
yeah.
be interested to see if that continues to happen. Again, maybe with the Buda Baker more serious injury, they're gonna change up their scheme a little bit. Like this is also a bad team that's made it very clear they're not necessarily trying to win anything. So I like
Right.
these young players that they're gonna try to see what they have in them. So yeah, go get yourself that Clark.
Yes, for sure. If you Kayvon Wallace was called out in both of our written articles last week. So again, if you're a subscriber, you would have been all over Kayvon Wallace last week and not reacting to this week. We called him out last week as a strong pickup as well as a strong start for this week going against the Giants there. Chris Barnes actually had a very decent PFF score this week as well. So on these larger chunk, he not a great score last week, but barely played this week, plays a lot of snaps, gets a decent score. He was the 5th highest PFF graded player in this game. So very interesting there. Yes, that might be a really good call out again. So we'll give it to you here on the video this week. Chris Barnes, we have it, but I'm sure he'll be written about as well on the website for
Mhm.
subscribers only. So yeah, Zaven Collins continues to be a hold and hope. I'm benching him right now. Yeah, I'm kind of hanging on, but I'm not putting him in my starting lineup yet. So yeah, good stuff for the Cardinals. So that takes us to the Niners and the Rams. So pull up that game on my. Okay, we had the Demodore Lenoir returned an interception for a touchdown. Gotta love that. So he's up there, although he was someone we were targeting for cornerback leagues. Have him on a lot of my best balls. So very happy with that play. Fred Warner next had a really nice game. Got home with the sack, ton of tackles. So we had a very, Fred Warner living up to not only being a good NFL linebacker, but gave us a great IDP game this week as well. Travarius Ward with a very high tackle floor. Drake Greenlaw, 12 total tackles, nothing else. Oh, and a pass defended. So that helped boost his. And Isaiah Oliver took home an interception for a touchdown as well. Beyond that, we had Nick Bosa and Hufanga having very down games. Drake Jackson came back to earth. We told you that would happen. So yeah, what else? Oh, Javon Hargrave with a bust,
Yeah,
a hell of a
disappointing.
bust of a game. Yeah, so
Especially that snap percentage. I don't love that.
yeah, I don't love that
Mm.
either.
Yeah, I mean, we know this 49ers defense is very, very good, right? So I'm not too concerned with the
Mhm.
players that didn't do too well, who you'd expect to.
Exactly.
It's kind of back-to-back weeks though for Hufanga that haven't been great,
Yeah.
but there's still the snap percentage there. I'm not cutting bait yet. He's obviously super talented. He's a little more splash play dependent than sort of the tackle
Mhm.
floor from some of these other players
Right.
at the position. But no, like you're playing Greenlaw, you're playing Warner, you're playing apparently these cornerbacks. I think that's more match dependent, with the
Yeah.
Rams. Um, Granted, Kyron Williams did have a pretty big game, but I think that's more to the pass than rushing. But no, I think the tempering expectations of Drake Jackson is right. We kind of
Mhm.
mentioned it last week. Like he had a great game, but limited snap count. So this is what happens when you don't have as many snaps and fewer opportunities to actually do anything. Um, so yeah, it's unfortunate he's back to earth, but I think that's just the reality we are in. But yeah, no, I think you continue to roll out the people you were rolling out here accordingly.
Yeah, our one of the IDP chats I'm in, somebody was asking to should I drop Nick Bosa? There's a ton of guys averaging more points. No, do not drop Nick Bosa. His snap share increased 20 some odd percent from last week. He's kind of yes, it's a little slow, but he's getting into the groove. Was not around for camp. Who knows? His conditioning might not be all that great, despite signing for all that money. You would think he should be have kept himself in condition. But hey, these things happen when if you're not around the team. That motivation maybe isn't quite there all the time. Nick Bosa will be fine. Still gave us 7.3. I mean, three QB hits. He just didn't get home. He is a monster. Do not panic on Nick Bosa. Do not ever think about dropping Nick Bosa. He will be fine. Imagine if those three QB hits had turned to sacks. They will eventually. He will be fine. So off the ledge, people. And to the Rams, another game. Look at the 100% snaps, 57. It's what's going to happen. So the top player, Ernest Jones, only 15 points with 10 total tackles. Behind him, a really nice game again from the rookie sort of edge rusher slash defensive end, Byron Young. Got home for a sack, the only guy to get home this week. Jordan Fuller behind them, Michael Heck behind them, and then a couple defensive backs, Kobe Durant and Russ Yeast. So I don't have a lot to take away from here. They just didn't have many defensive snaps. The Niners were scoring often and quickly for the most part, or they weren't sustaining their drive. So there just wasn't a lot of opportunity. Their biggest thing is Byron Young. Go pick him up. He should be rostered in even shallower leagues. I think. I think he's in for a very strong year. We're seeing the snap percentages there. We're seeing the big plays. I would have thought it was earlier in the year. I was betting for these kinds of games on Michael Hecht over Byron Young. So I just wasn't sure about the rookie getting the playing time and all that. But I mean, they're both playing about the same. But Byron Young is getting home and giving us the higher the better plays, the bigger splash plays. So I'm a Byron Young guy, I think, right now. So I would say pick him up.
Love it. Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is don't panic on Aaron Donald at this point. For the
Yeah,
defensive tackle,
shitty
he
game.
played 95% of snaps. He did
Yeah,
nothing, but he's still Aaron Donald. Like he's obviously
yeah,
not the Aaron Donald of a few years ago necessarily, but you've been paying attention with us this entire time, you very rarely get defensive tackles that play 95% of snaps. Like, it
Yeah,
just doesn't happen. He's going to get
true.
his. Don't panic yet. But otherwise, everything else that you said with the Rams is accurate.
Yeah, these games are tough when there's not a lot of snaps. There's not a lot of analysis to take away. Keep starting your studs. Yeah, you got burned on Aaron Donald this week, but hey, maybe not next week, and go pick up Byron Young for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Next game is Jets at Dallas. All right, we had C.J. Mosley as the top scorer. Sauce Gardner had a nice game, despite being a corner. He was still getting targeted. Jordan Whitehead did not have 3 interceptions this week, but still gave us a solid game, coming in 3rd on the list. Quincy Williams 4th, and Quinnen Williams 5th. So beyond these studs, I'll have to interject quickly here. My guy, I've been touting him all year. Very disappointed that Will McDonald was seemingly a healthy scratch. That is not a good sign. I may have to take him. That I will say, I would take a massive L on over a guy like Jordan Brooks. I was really excited, really high on Will McDonald. Seems like Jermaine Johnson is being brought along. They're kind of the same player type there. Johnson in his second year plays 68% of snaps, got a decent tackle for it. I believe he had a sack last week. So looks like I should have been touting Jermaine Johnson for the expectations that I was going for Will McDonald. So definitely a cut in redraft leagues, stronghold in dynasty, but yeah, not looking good for him going forward. So who else you got on the Jets here?
Yeah, the strongest of holds
Yeah,
in Dynasty.
it's still the
This
meme.
is just a very good defensive line. Like, it's hard to crack this.
Exactly.
It's hard to crack this.
They're
This.
playing
And
well
yeah,
together.
yeah, hard to crack the team. No, I think everything you said is accurate. Like, the Jets are another team that kind of play their studs and then unfortunately rotate their defensive line with whoever they actually have there, which they don't care from a fantasy perspective. They're doing that. Like, the fact that
Yeah.
Quinnen Williams only got 66% of snaps is, like, compared that to Aaron Donald, right? So obviously Quinnen Williams is a beast at the defensive tackle, still scored
Mhm.
13 points here, still made his presence known versus the Aaron Donald who played 95% and did nothing, right?
Right.
So anyway, the Jets go up against my Pats next week, which uh our offensive line, the Pats offensive line is not very good. So I think if you're trying to have any incentive to play any of the Jets defensive line, they
Yeah.
should have a pretty good week. They should have a pretty good week uh, against us there. But no, I mean, looking at these stat percentages that I'm seeing here and the actual production, like, it all kind of lines up.
Yeah.
Like, again, this is another team where it's like maybe Jordan Whitehead might be undervalued right now.
Yes.
99% of defensive snaps, 17 points in our scoring system. Like, that is very good. Like, that is
Mhm.
you're talking TB2 there, and he
Yeah.
he might be available on your waiver wire. So he's someone
Mhm.
I'd go check for. I don't really trust anyone else that I'm seeing on the
Yeah,
screen
totally.
that wouldn't already be rostered by
Yeah.
someone. Uh, so yeah, enjoy all those sacks next week while I will be crying.
Oh no. Jordan Whitehead is absolutely being undervalued. Of the safety group, he more than doubled, or just barely doubled, the snaps in the box, as well as playing free safety and 16 snaps in the slot. So definitely
Hmm.
being underrated, playing all over, exactly what we want. Um, the other safety position is kind of cloudy here. Tony Adams, 37% of snaps, way down from last week, versus Adrian Amos, 61%, way up. Although Adams still outscored him, it was only by a few points. 5 total tackles to Adrian Amos, 3 total with 3 solos. All of Adams were 5 solos. So slightly outproduced him, seems to be losing steam on the snap share. So if he was kind of your sleeper guy this year, he seems to be losing steam now, just after only 1 week. But yes, Jordan Whitehead definitely seems like he is in a position to continue having a very, very strong year. So totally agree. He's your main pickup guy, as well as Jermaine Johnson. I think gave you a
Hmm.
solid tackle for if you're starting more than or 3 to 4 defensive linemen. I think Jermaine Johnson is a guy uh, to go after as well. All right, flick it. Oh, Carl Lawson continues to stink, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Dallas. Okay, Parsons had his game. The game that people drafted him as the 101. He's giving it to us. So I said he was going to need a historic sack year. He's off to a hell of a start.
He's
But you look at
often
those
doing it.
tackles. Looking at those tackles, if he's not getting those sacks, you're very upset. But it chipped in with a forced fumble, 3 tackles for loss, hit the QB 4 times, 1 defended pass. So monster game from Parsons. Beyond him, I mean, look, we got Jaron Kearse, Trayvon Diggs, Malik Hooker, and Stephon Gilmore, all guys in the secondary with very low IDP scores. This game again was another one where Jets, offense kind of stunk. This game was out of hand pretty quickly earlier. OC Odigizua still keep going strong with another sack this week. 51% of snaps, in those DT required, contract deep leagues. He's looking like a steal right now. Van Der Esch at 100% of snaps, gave us a whopping 4 total tackles, 2 of them solo. Yikes. And then Damon Clark, the LB2, played 36% of snaps in a blowout. Would have liked to see that go up, considering they had this game underhand pretty quickly. 1 assisted tackle. So another one, a Jack Gibbons of the world, the Damon Clarks of the world. If you're, not a great player, I don't really care if you're the LB2. So what else you got for the Cowboys?
Yeah, pretty much that. I was going to mention Osa Digizua, 2
Mhm.
straight weeks, obviously with sacks. You'd like to see that snap percentage be a little higher to truly
Mhm.
trust him. But again,
Right.
he's I've been following him since his, rookie year out here, and he continues
Yeah.
to get more and more play time. Continues to be very, very good.
Mhm.
And this Dallas defense is freaking loaded. Like this is kind of like the way this season started. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
Eagles defense last year, where it doesn't matter how many snaps you play on that defensive line, you're gonna be up close to 10 sacks, and he's well on
Uh-huh.
his way. So when it comes to those bye week fill-ins in some of these leagues where you just need someone out there who could, you know, do some real damage, yeah, why not Diggy Zua, right? Yeah. Otherwise, the the Cowboys play the Cardinals, as I mentioned before. The Cardinals are very bad, so I expect yet another another monster week from this defense. Related though, we expect it to be a blowout. Granted, like I said before, the Cardinals have been frisky. With that blowout, we would expect to see fewer snaps. I would not be surprised if next week is Micah Parsons like, oh, I did nothing because
Yeah.
yep, everyone else ate, and then they were up by 30 points, and then he just doesn't play. Not
Exactly.
saying don't play him.
Right.
Obviously,
You
play him.
can't
Just
not. Yeah.
know in some of these tasty matchups that is a possibility when
Mhm.
people start losing some snap percentage. But no, this Dallas defense is insane. You know who you should be starting. Uh, and yeah, keep reaping those benefits because they look pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully he does his thing early enough to give you points. But again, something I should have called out at the beginning. The 100% snaps was only 47. I'm pretty sure that was low on the week.
Oh
So when
yeah.
you're only playing 47% or 47 total snaps on defense, not always going to be a lot of opportunity. That's why Van Der Esch doesn't do well. That's why Deron Bland, who is a really good corner, only played 55% of the snaps. He is their slot corner. So when they have a much juicier passing matchup, he'll be good to go. So, but yeah, not up against Zach Wilson, unfortunately. So, yeah, cool. Brings us to our next game. The Commanders defeated the Broncos. That was a really fun game.
Mhm.
And then from a defensive perspective, we had Deron Payne be the defensive lineman who went off this week, the number 1 scorer on the team. Cody Barton had a very good, a solid game, playing 100% of the snaps. Rookie corner Emmanuel Forbes had a really nice game with an interception. Um, Montez Sweat, 1.5 sacks. Chase Young returns at 71% of snaps, gets home with 1.5 sacks. Only 2 or 3 total tackles, but hey, that's what he does. We count on him for sacks, and that's very encouraging to see him back. Jamin Davis, only 62% of the snaps, was carried by a sack. We don't love that. He is someone I'm not trusting going forward. Unfortunately, he's just not out there enough. Cam Curl with kind of a down game at 100%. Still 9 total tackles, but only 4 solos. and unfortunately didn't give us anything else. So yeah, I think the big story is the return of Chase Young, man. What do you think?
Yeah, the return of Chase Young. I mean, you like that 71% snap share and how he
Hmm.
looked pretty good. So that looks good. Like we knew that defensive line. This is kind of like a post-hype defensive line because this
Yeah.
defense was supposed to be freaking great a few years ago. Kind of had a little bit of expectations, except like Darren Payne continues to crush defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I know Jonathan Allen had a bit of a
Down
disappointing
game.
DP
Yeah.
day, but he still played 86% of snaps. So I continue to
Hmm.
trust him. But like
Yeah.
that defensive line is good enough to all be very IDP relevant. And I think we're
Hmm.
seeing that they are, right? Yeah, I think for me the biggest arrow up, other than Chase Young, is Manuel Forbes. That's a really nice
Okay.
day. Only 67% of snaps though, so
Yeah.
buyer beware with him. We've been talking about a bunch of other rookie cornerbacks, other cornerbacks that play more than that. Obviously, you
Hmm.
love to see that this production, but we're gonna want to go up a little higher before actually going fully in there. Uh, and the biggest arrow down, freaking Jamin Davis. Like, what's stopping you? Like, this was supposed to be his team on defense. He was supposed to be the linebacker. Everyone's kind of poo-pooed Cody Barton. It's like, oh, Cody Barton's just a whatever. He goes from team to team and he's not that good. But like he played 100% of the snaps, right?
Hmm.
It's like I don't know what's going on with Jamin Davis there. I think he's a clear, maybe outright drop at this point in
Oh God,
redraft.
yeah.
Like
Redraft
go
and
get someone else. Like it's not worth it. Um,
big
but
time
yeah,
selling dynasty for me too. Get rid of him. Take whatever you can get. No
Yeah, if
thanks.
anyone's going to go after him. So looking ahead, the Commanders play the Bills next week, which is actually that's a tasty little game right there in
Hmm.
Washington. So we expect the Bills to do a little bit of everything. So I think
Hmm.
roll out your studs from this Commander offense. You don't really have to fade anyone. Then hopefully it
Yeah.
goes your way.
Yeah. Cam Curl should return back to his Cam Curl self, I would say.
And we always talk about the floor though, because I mean the Cam Curl, like
Yeah.
the floor
That's
of 9
very solid
tackles, like
floor.
that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. Like
Absolutely.
he might not have done exactly what you want him to do, but he didn't lose you this week, right? He
Right.
isn't a Kayvon Thibodeau who shows up for what
One
one
point.
assisted
Yeah.
tackle. Like that could truly lose you this week versus what Cameron
Yeah.
Curl did. Like maybe not the best that he's ever done, but you're gonna be fine with
I
that.
think we've just been spoiled with how good and how high that floor
Oh,
is. That it's
sure.
like, 9 tackles with nothing else.
I
Jeez. But
know.
yeah.
Scrub.
Hey, Derek Forrest played 100% of snaps, so that's nice. But yes, more of that free safety.
100%.
So yeah, the formula not working out great on that one. But actually, no, the formula is in our favor on that one because we don't have good linebackers down there. So Cam Curl eats as the strong safety. Derek Forrest does not eat as the free safety. So there's another one for the formula. All right. Forbes. I'm taking a ton of Forbes next year in these best ball leagues. I mean, that's what he did in college. He picked off passes and returned them for touchdowns. I'm gonna be. I didn't have a lot this year because I wasn't sure about Snapshot. And you're right, it's not great, but man, when he's in there, he is producing. So
Yeah, arrows up.
he's gonna be a big time best ball target for me next year in all those fun best ball leagues that we do. So
Oh yeah.
all right, flicking over to the Broncos here. We had some interesting players scoring this week. So we had Jonathan Cooper, the edge rusher, get 71% of snaps and got home with 2 sacks and 8 total tackles. So he was just all over the place, seemingly possibly displacing Alex Singleton a little bit. Singleton saw his snaps dwindle down to 64% and only gave us 4 total tackles. Josie Jewell did his thing. So if anyone was questioning what Jewell versus Singleton is very clearly Josie Jewell's spot at linebacker, played 89% of snaps, 9 total tackles with a pass defended. Justin Simmons out there doing his thing at 100% of snaps. Finally, he's been very up and down over the past couple of years, but very strong week with this sort of shootout that this game turned into. So 10 total tackles for him. Randy Gregory decides to come out of his slumber to play 64% of snaps, got home with a sack, 5 total tackles, 2 for a loss, and a QB hit, and defended a pass. Damari Mathis, the cornerback, 6 total tackles, 1 for a loss. And Nick Benito was the other guy to mention that got a sack. Their second rounder from last year played 62% of snaps. Probably not someone you're going to be able to trust. Uh, like I mentioned, Singleton. The other guy, my guy Zach Allen, off to a slow start. Kind of frustrating. Playing 81% of snaps. where you're seeing all these other defensive linemen just eat this week, and he only gives us 4 points for 2 assists and 2 QB hits. So he's pressuring the quarterback. Hitting the quarterback twice. You see the other guys with the QB hits in this column usually have sacks to go with them. You see 2 for Benito, 1 sack, 1 for Gregory, 1 sack, 1 for Cooper, 2 sacks. So frustrating start for Zach Allen. But what do you take away from this game?
Yeah, we in the fantasy industries definitely take our L's more often than we take our W's.
Yeah.
But dang it, Alex Singleton, were we right or were we right? Like there's at a certain point, these
Uh-huh.
defenses that are good defenses replace bad players. Like
Uh-huh.
obviously Josie Jewell maybe should have been in our tier one stuff. Fair, I'll take that, but not both of them.
Fringe.
Fringe. And here's why. I mean, down to 64% of defensive snaps. Like that's certifiable, almost droppable. Like I wouldn't necessarily yet, just because he has had that success, and I want to make sure that the Cooper or whoever replaced him in this game actually happens again. But not looking good. Not looking
Yeah.
good. Yeah, the yeah, Nick Bonito is the other one I wanted to bring up. Like he's had flashes of looking pretty good, but again, that 62% snap share, it's not enough for me to truly trust him. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is getting that's going up. The number is going up. Arrows pointed up. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
still maybe a year away or so from him being super relevant. I continue to be a little disappointed. We don't see Drew Sanders at all out there.
Mm-hmm.
I figure it's only a matter of time for him to start seeing the field unless they're truly going the big old red shirt year this year with him. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've said this a bunch, but this Broncos team is kind of a team that I'm taking my studs, and that's really all I'm rolling with. Like your Justin Simmons, your Josie Jules, and in lesser extent, like your Pat Surtains. I know the Broncos play the Dolphins next week, so we expect to see a full passing attack against them. Like we'll see that the Patriots defensive backs did pretty decently.
Mm-hmm.
At least my man did. Yeah, I think if you're looking to add anyone from here, like Jonathan Cooper intrigues me with that
Yeah.
71%. But again, I'd like to see him do it again before
Right.
actually trusting him.
Exactly. Totally agree. Yeah, I don't know that Singleton, there's nobody that like replaced him per se. I think this was probably just more came down to game script,
Mm,
with more passing going on, and we know that Singleton struggles big time there. So yeah, there was just more defensive backs. This Isang Bassi, that name that you see there was basically the slot corner for this game, came out of nowhere with 49 slot snaps. So I think that's kind of where you saw Singleton coming off the field for those, obvious
mm.
passing downs in this game. So, yeah. Cooper, what do we do with a guy like Cooper? Deeper league,
I'd wait.
sure. Yeah, I mean, he's worth a flyer in a deeper league, starting 4 defensive linemen or 4 linebackers with maybe some IDP flexes, but definitely not picking him up and throwing him into my starting lineup. That's for sure.
Right.
We saw Sam Howell, still second-year quarterback, taking a ton of sacks, matchup dependent. Do you know who's Denver got next week by any chance?
The Dolphins.
Dolphins, right? So yeah, we to a lot more protection. So yeah, I would not expect this. But if they do play some more of these teams with younger quarterbacks or bad defensive lines, yeah, Cooper might be worth a Hail Mary, but definitely not next week. And he's a stash at best. So yeah, try not to overreact to stuff like that. Again, game script is very important. So speaking of Tua
Our,
and the Miami
our
Dolphins.
final game.
Yes, we moved to the Dolphins. You see a very short list, very top heavy. Did have 74 snaps to available to score points on, so that was very nice. And we see Xavier Howard at the top of the list with his. Did he pick six it or did he just pick it? I think
He just picked it.
just picked it. Okay, but strong tackles to go along with that. We also give the yardage, so he might have some good yardage there. Um, in Jalen Phillips' absence, Bradley Chubb finally gives us a monster IDP game. 7 total tackles, a sack, 2 QB hits, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, all leading him to being the number 2 right behind Xavier Howard, probably number 1 in different scoring formats. Javon Holland continues to be a monster. If he's somehow available in your leagues, even your shallower leagues, I mean, give me Javon Holland over guys, bigger names like a Harrison Smith, obviously Buda Baker who went down. Give me Javon Holland over Kyle Hamilton in redraft. I'm sorry, I'm dropping Hamilton for a guy like Holland. He's getting the snaps. He's getting the production. I want it. David Long, for those who did not give up. Now, it was hard to not give up, playing only about 21, I believe, percent of snaps last week. Boosts right up to 84. Who knows? Maybe he was, nagging injury, possibly. I don't know if we have a lot of insight into why such the large discrepancy, but he did get home with a sack, 7 total tackles, 2 QB hits, a tackle for a loss. Very nice game. Let's hope that we see David Long continuing to earn that higher snap share over a Jerome Baker who played 100% snaps and gave us 6 total tackles, only 3 of them solos. Eli Apple chipped in with a good game in our scoring. Nothing I'm really paying that close attention to. So what else for the Dolphins here?
Yeah, I'm finding, at least early on this year, that the Patriots are a great matchup for the other team's IDPs. Just because
Yeah,
the Patriots do like a little bit of everything, right?
yeah,
So like they try to establish the run really early on because that's in theory the only way that we can win.
yeah.
So that gets your defensive line getting some volume stats, and then when we invariably fall behind, we'll just start throwing a bunch, and that gets your linebackers, defensive backs some stats. So not really about the Dolphins there, more
Yeah.
self-reflecting on my freaking Pats team. But it's a perfect blend, right? Like it's a perfect blend. But no, I think it's a short list here, and like we've mentioned a million times already this week, that's good. Like we know who we can play, right? Again, some of these things are definitely more matchup dependent than other things, but we do expect the Dolphins to be in some track meets, and I selfishly knowing the result already, like I would have really liked to see Jalen Phillips play in this game and to see
I
what he would have done to
know.
us because like this kind of it feels like a Jalen Phillips breakout year. It's kind of percolating from that week one. It's like, oh, week two against the Pats, like the perfect week for him to actually destroy us. I mean, look, we made Andrew Van Ginkel look relevant, right? He's like, come on now, like that should have been Jalen Phillips. But
Uh,
but really, everyone that you're starting here do so, and without any real changes in terms of injuries or anything, you don't really need to worry about dropping or adding people because I think the people that should be rostered and on teams already are.
if you cut bait with David Long after week 1, I don't blame you. Maybe go grab it back and just hold and pray that this snap percentage stays where it was in this game. But I get it if you don't want to either. He's a really tough one to give any good, strong, sound advice about. Like I said, I could see either way. I could see if you cut bait and don't want him back, he could be a headache all year. But if you want to stash him and hope that we continue to see this and maybe overtakes Baker for that 100% snap roll down the line, if his health stays up to par, he gets back to full health. But it's a complete fingers crossed pray situation. So
For sure.
right. And then the Pets. Christian Gonzalez, another. Wait, did he have a pick last week too?
No pick last week. That was all
Okay.
tackles.
He
This,
was
this is
all
his first
tackles
pick.
last
This is
week.
his
All
first
right.
pick. Yeah.
First pick, but a nice
Wait, he
tackle
had a sack
there.
last week. He had a sack last week.
Okay. That's what it was. Okay. So yeah, just doing Christian Gonzalez things. Top IDP score, 100% of snaps with the pick. Miles Bryant right behind him with a solid tackle game with a couple for loss. Matt Judon gets home, so he's doing his thing. Jelani Tavai somehow 7 tackles, 73% of snaps. Somehow outscored Juwan Bentley, who played 100% of the snaps. Just kind of that lucky breakdown of solos to assists.
Mhm.
Marcus Jones, man, only 32% of snaps. That's another. I'll take an L on that one. I thought Marcus Jones. Obviously, I guess we could have seen when they drafted a top end cover corner in the very first round we might have seen. But Marcus Jones was kind of more of the slot guy, and thought we were going to see more from him on special teams, but that's so fluky and unpredictable. So, but a solid enough game here. He still chipped in 4 tackles on only through 32% of snaps, but you cannot count on that. He's droppable in redraft and
Oh yeah.
dynasty,
Oh
tradable
yeah.
slash
Oh yeah.
droppable.
Trade him.
And then Jabril Prepper is paid 100% snaps. I like to see that. I barely
Sure.
outscored Kyle Duggar, who also played 100%. So beyond those guys, we saw Marty Mapu get 48%. That's nice. I didn't do a lot with it, but hey, he's on the field more. Of course, your interior linemen don't are never reliable. Where's your boy Keon White go this week, man?
Not anywhere here, apparently. Uh I mean, you
Yeah.
expect that with your rookie
Oh,
defensive
of course.
ends, right? And
Yeah.
we already knew this matchup against the Dolphins, that Tua's slippery. Like, I'm surprised that like that one Judon sack was less about Judon getting to him, more coverage sack than anything
Okay.
else. And then you got
Okay.
it's like, okay, cool, you got your sack, Judon. September Judon, you're doing it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's still only a few people I really trust on this defense from an IDP
Yeah.
perspective. Like I do still trust Duggar. I mean, again, not the greatest game, but again, 8 points, not going to completely tank you there. Juwan Bentley still sees the field so much. Peppers has been the main benefactor of Devin McCourty's retirement, right? So he's the guy.
Mhm.
He's out there. Um, really like that. And then yeah, I've been on the Christian Gonzalez train since we drafted him. Even before drafting him, I wrote about him for our draft kit. Like I was really high on him, and so it's just so much fun seeing him not only pay off for my team, which is fun.
Nice.
And like he's all over the
All
board. Like
right.
he was matched up against Tyreek Hill like, for practically the entire game, so they just threw
Mhm.
him out there, and that's why these rookie cornerbacks can be so IDP. Uh, Such a good IDP asset, right? Like
Mhm.
he's playing a bunch. He's going up against, especially these matchup corners, against their best wide receiver. Like odds are
Mhm.
good. They're still a rookie. They're not going to shut him down. Like we're not talking about Darrell Revis, right? Like
Right.
not like the one a lifetime kind of player. It's like, yeah, he's going to give up some. He's going to give up some catches, and then what's going to end up happening is he gets these tackles, right?
Mhm.
So like, I really am high on Christian Gonzalez, as you can tell,
Yeah.
which means he's going to be due for a slow game. That's going to happen. Like it happens to everyone. Uh,
Sure.
but and maybe it's next week because it's Patriots Jets. We don't
Oof.
know we don't know
Right.
how Zach Wilson is, but we expect him to go up against Garrett freaking Wilson,
Yeah.
but I expect them to, because our defensive line, the pass defense line is pretty bad, banged up. I expect a heavy dose of Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook, and those
Mhm.
Pats Jets games are always kind of gross. So uh,
Yeah.
I think stock up with that matchup for the linebackers and defensive line, and your like Kyle Duggars of the world or whoever's taking the
Mm.
box snaps. I know Duggar kind of has been moving around a little more. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think we know who we like here on the Pats defense. There's only
Yeah.
a few we actually trust, right? Like Christian Barmore only getting 44% of snaps is disappointing. Like he was
Yeah.
supposed to be one of those like next good DTs, and he just has never, he's just not lived up to it. So I'm a little disappointed by that. But really, the rest of it from the IDP perspective, I think the players that you would have been starting here didn't completely suck.
Yeah. The only last guy I want to talk about, my guy, Josh
Mapu?
Uchi. No,
Oh,
Uchi
Uchi. Yeah.
missing from here, gave us a 0 burger. However, I mean, he was the second highest overall graded player this week from PFF and the number 1 pass rush. He just didn't get home. So 4 pressures, 4 hurries, 4 for 4 there. Just didn't get home. Only played, I believe it says here, 37% of the snaps. So
Yep.
with all that pressure, you would think they would want him on them, especially against two and the way, that passing off. So it's one of those things I just don't understand sometimes with these personnel decisions and how coaching could just tank a player's production. I mean, he was doing awesome when he was on the field, pressuring Tua, and just for some reason they didn't put him in anymore. So he's a guy who I'm sticking with uh, in deeper leagues, and I think he'll get home. Especially, I think this is gonna be a good flip flop week next week. I think you're right, Christian Gonzalez. We see, you're still playing him, but we can see what happened with Dallas, right? The Deron Bland not having a good game. We could see Gonzalez not have a good game, and I think Uchi does get home at least once next week. So
Ooh,
I'm
I like that.
still yeah, that would be my hot take, I guess, for that game
Yeah,
next week. So I'm
it's
sticking
just
with Uchi.
it's just so important looking at the matchups, right? Because you can love
Uh-huh.
Chris Gonzalez as much as I do, while also still, having the clarity and vision to say, I don't know if I would necessarily start him against this Jets team
Mhm.
that's probably not going to try to throw a whole bunch. Like both things can be true, but that's why we have our
Yeah.
bench, right? And we can maybe play some better matchups accordingly.
Excellent. All right, before we go, quickly, do you happen to have what our exact records were for the week
Oh,
two?
let
So I
me just
know
take
just
a
for
quick.
while you look that up, yeah, we didn't get to it on the show. We did make our picks. I think we missed the Thursday game. We made our picks and posted on Twitter. So if you're still interested in following us along for that, it will be up on Twitter as well as on the website when these episodes get posted. So yeah, we have fun picking against the spreads here. Again, I stink. I was terrible last week. I think we both sort of finished in the middle of the pack. I'm sure you beat me again, but regardless,
So, okay. So, with the Browns and Steelers game outstanding,
okay.
granted, my under has already not hit, so that's wonderful. Uh, I ended up going 9-6 this week.
Nice.
I was 9-4 going into tonight, which is not great. And you went 8-5-1 with the
I'll take
Browns
it.
minus 2.5 still there. So if you followed us this week, we made you some money. You're welcome.
Woohoo! All right, we were not easy fades this week. All right, after week one, that's hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah,
Week one was especially rough for me, still figuring some things out. But hey, I'll take it. Anything that's above 500, I will happily take.
absolutely.
So awesome, good stuff. Really appreciate everyone hanging in to the end here. Hope we provide you with some good info. Again, we will have very detailed written up articles for both these game reviews and then the previews coming on Thursday, which includes start sits. Our reviews will include your waiver wire. Full access to those articles for subscribers only. So if you like our content here, really encourage you to give us a shot on a subscription on the website. We really think you'll enjoy it. So I will do my sign off here. I am Dynasty Santa on Twitter. DMs open. Happy to help you there, but really where you'll get our immediate, constant attention will be in our Discord. Again, available for subscribers. So Matt, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm at M Record 21. Matt Records, me name. Don't wear it out. You can find me all over X, all over Twitter, really anywhere IDP guys and Club Fantasy are, which predominantly I would say is IDP guys.org and then the old artist formerly known as Twitter, uh, there, the X streets. So, so yeah, check out our live start sit YouTube show every Sunday morning as well, getting you ready to, those last second start sit questions, get them answered. But again, the Discord is freaking awesome. Come hang out with us in there. We love all of the comments holding us accountable and questions in the YouTube chat. So keep those coming so we can help provide the best information we can for you.
Absolutely. Now, I can't let you go without your newest parody, the biggest waiver wire pickup in some time
Yeah.
here,
Oh
Mr.
yeah.
Puka Nakua. Where I'm on your Twitter feed. Hold on, I gotta find. I want to play us out. So everyone, thank you for listening. And here we go. I found it. So I'm going to remove our spreadsheet and I'm going to reshare and send the people out with your excellent parody here for little Puka Nakua. So thank you everybody for listening. And I'm gonna start it over. Make sure the sound's up, and here we go. Thanks everyone for listening. Is
Oh,
that coming through?
I can't hear it.
I think it's
Puka
gonna.
Nakua. Set our waivers ablaze. Puka Nakua. Ain't no passing crease. So on and so forth. Check it out on Twitter.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching this IDP guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.